right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and you are listening to WJOB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM in Hammond, Indiana, and it's the morning call. It's Wednesday morning. It's Tom Dabertin. I'm going to be here until 9 a.m. with you, so lots to talk about this morning, and of course, the most important conversation is the one that you begin by calling us at 845-1100, so get ready to call in, but let's start with traffic and weather. Traffic right now in the 6 o'clock hour looks pretty decent throughout the Chicago area. I-65, 8094, Pine Avenue, the toll road, all look great. So does the Chicago Skyway. Even the Dan Ryan right now is looking good. So if you're trying to get out to work early, now's the time to get there because the roads are open to 94. Everything looks great. And with that, let's say good morning to Lynette and let's talk about weather.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 29 degrees with highs of 42 and lows of 28. It's going to be mostly sunny and cooler. And then tomorrow on Thursday, we'll be having highs of 41 and lows of 28. Should be cloudy in the morning, followed by clouds breaking for some sun. And then Friday, we'll be having highs of 52 and lows of 31 with times of clouds and sun.
All right, 52 degrees. That means Lynette's car is definitely getting washed, right?
Yes.
All right, there you have it. 845-1100 is the number to call. Don't know if we have callers yet, but I know we will soon. Want to talk about a lot of issues. There's so many things going on right now in both Northwest Indiana and nationally. Just some amazing stuff. Of course, there was the walkout at Hammond Central High School and at other high schools in Northwest Indiana as well. The continuing hunt for local officials when it comes to the NIPSCO issue. There were 2 rallies, as I understood it, in the past week. Very few elected officials. Adrian Santos, obviously, he was out there at both rallies. He wins for being active and out there. But a lot of local officials are sitting on the sidelines, and I wonder why. Now, I'm not talking about state reps and state senators. They're in session. They can't be there. I get that. But where is everybody else? There seems to be a lot more conversation with local officials about the bears, which aren't coming to Northwest Indiana, it appears, than we have about the NIPSCO bills, which affect everybody. And once again, do they control it? No. Do they control the narrative downstate? They can certainly influence it. So that's important. There was an article in the Times yesterday about BP Oil claiming a loss just in time for negotiations. Of course, they're in negotiations with the union for employees at the Whiting Refinery. I find it very interesting that they come out and say, oh, we have this huge loss this year. Well, they actually wrote off losses from the green initiatives, so green energy initiatives, which basically amounted to a $4 billion write-off in the last quarter, which left them with a net loss of $3.4 billion. When you write something off like that, I'm sorry, I'm not going to take up a tag day for you. There is an interesting story that's come out about Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump. It ends up that Donald Trump, who said that he believed years ago that Epstein was a bad person, he actually reported Jeffrey Epstein to the police chief in West Palm Beach, Florida, back in 2006. So that has now come out in the files. So he actually didn't make that one up. Want to wish Stan Stefanski happy birthday a day late. Of course, the owner of Big Frank Sausage. Haven House is going to have a fundraiser coming up next week, and we're going to talk about it with Carrie, the executive director, at 7 o'clock. And what did you think of the halftime show? So that's very interesting. I see all kinds of posts, so love to hear your views about the halftime show as well. So 845-1100 is the number to call, and I'm going to take a guess. Do we have callers already?
We do not.
We do not? Oh my gosh, I'm surprised because I got a call from Trucker Mike yesterday telling me he was going to call in and be the first caller this morning. So a little surprised. Did you watch the halftime show?
I saw clips of it.
So you didn't watch it live?
No, I did not.
There was an interesting analogy when Bad Bunny is dancing around utility poles and they short out. And if you followed social media in Northwest Indiana and Northern Indiana, everybody said it was his part in protesting the NIPSCO rates, which I thought was very, very funny. Now you're bilingual, right?
A little bit, yes.
So my biggest concern, I watched it. I thought it was okay. I didn't understand any of it because I don't speak Spanish. Mm-hmm. But my understanding is some of the words of some of those songs are pretty risque. In fact, they're downright obscene. And there is a push on now about the FCC. It ends up that the FCC can enforce their standards about obscene language, whether it's in English or Spanish. So there's an issue there. I mean, again, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, too much about what Bad Bunny does. I thought the dancing was interesting. Again, I'm at a loss. You could have turned the volume down and just watched them dance because I didn't know what was being said. But he's popular, so I don't necessarily have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is if the information is true and it's coming from a lot of sources. And I did look up one song I think it's called Safira. And I looked at some of the words and, I can't say any of them on the radio or we will get fined. So I won't be singing any Bad Bunny songs on WJOB anytime soon. But again, it was an interesting halftime show. I didn't see the alternative show. Usually my take on halftime shows is it's the perfect time to get up and go to the bathroom and get something more to eat that I'm already probably have overeaten. So I didn't get all that worked up about the halftime show. Not the official one or the unofficial one that was put out, I think, on, if I remember correctly, it was on YouTube. There was a problem with X and copywriting, so they didn't put it on X, but it was on YouTube, and millions of people watched both of them. So there you have my take on Bad Bunny and his performance.
Well, to be fair, my mom
Yes.
speaks Spanish, but she also couldn't really understand what he was saying. He has a kind of accent or dialect that a lot of people can't understand, but it was fine either way.
I still remember back in the late 1970s, I was playing the song "Who Are You" by The Who, and my mother, who had actually had a trained voice, she'd sung professionally before she got married, and she was singing along to the words of the album, and then I had the LP version, not the radio version, and it's "Who the blank are you?" And my mother took the record and took it off the turntable and handed it to me and said, "Not in my house." So there you go. We've got callers, so let's go to the callers. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Well, I wasn't going to call in because I'm trying to do some things around here this morning. I'm going through my closet.
Wait a minute. After you called me yesterday and told me you weren't going to call in, you weren't going to call in.
Well, because this morning when I heard the weather's getting nicer, I thought I'm going to go in my closet and start getting my shorts and T-shirts all out because it's going to start warming up,
52 degrees on Friday. You need to get out there.
Yeah. And I saw something on one of the Chicago stations that possibly next week we might get 60 degrees,
There you go. There you go.
Oh,
that sounds great.
Might have to turn the air conditioner on.
Now you won't be able to do that because you won't be able to afford it.
Yeah, when you give the traffic report for us here in Northwest Indiana, for like right now, you're giving a report for up here. Down there where you're at, how's the traffic in the morning when people go to work and stuff from down there?
So this is one of the crazier things where our condo is. We are right by the ocean, and right behind us is the Intercoastal Waterway. Okay, and so there are drawbridges at Atlantic Boulevard and then again at 14th. And just like Northwest Indiana used to be with the trains, you have to time everything that you do based on what time it is and the drawbridges. So Atlantic Boulevard goes up at the top of the hour and the bottom of the hour, where 14th Street goes up at 15 and 45. And so, Mike, if you go to the wrong street, you sit there for 10 minutes and probably longer because the traffic builds, and you can't get anywhere because it takes 7 minutes for them to open and close the bridge, and then it takes about 15 minutes for the traffic to clear. So it can be challenging, to say the least.
Yeah, I had talked to you about, Hammond Central High the other day. I put a clip out about it, about they walked on students. I have 3 questions to ask about that situation. Now, first question is, who gave authorization for them students to walk out of class during class hours? I want an answer from the school board or the principal or the superintendent. Who gave them authorization to go out the door and protest during class hours? Number 2, who gave authorization for them to go out? And number 3, if they were out there protesting and a car saw them protesting, the anti-ICE protesting, if somebody was not of all their state of mind, didn't like what they saw, drove that car on the sidewalk and hit and killed students while they're supposed to be in class, who is going to be held liable for any students that are out of their classroom, out of the school, unexcused during class? Is the school city of Hammond or the city of Hammond liable for any danger, or if anybody got hurt or killed during a protest from the school system?
Well, you raised a couple of issues, okay? And the first one, let's take the last issue, the issue of liability. I would think that they would have liability because they allowed it to happen. So I get the understanding. I totally understand the idea of freedom of expression, and students, the courts have ruled students have the right to protest, and I recognize that. However, when a student is at school, they can't go on a field trip without a parental approval form. Okay, they can't. They have to have permission. And a lot of these kids were under age 16. They're out there. They have to have the permission slip. You're right. There's just so many dangers. And then there's the bigger issue. To me, the biggest issue is, should students be going out and protesting from a school where you have just really horrible academic performance? I mean, I looked at the numbers, and 4% can function proficiently at math, 26% for reading. Those are numbers that are deplorable. And please don't tell me it's because they're minority, because when you say that, you automatically are saying that minorities can't perform at the same level as white students, and I don't believe that. I know plenty of people that I went to school with who were minority, who were just as capable as I was, if not better. And so I don't buy any of that. And I think you raised some very legitimate questions. I mean, you send students to school to learn. Go ahead.
Yeah, see, I was just very concerned on the safety of the children, because simple reason, somebody let them go out. Okay, and I'm just upset because what if somebody not of their state of mind did something stupid while them kids are out there? I'm thinking of the safety of the children, because did the parents know they were going to do that? Did anybody know that? I'm upset with. I'm saddened because what if something dangerous or terrible would have happened? Then it would have been worse. That's all I want to talk on about that, because I'm concerned for the safety of the children, because they're supposed to be safe in school, and that's why I'm just a little saddened, because we need our children to go to school for 12 years, get their education, get educated, and then go on with their life. And something like that situation, at one moment, something could drastically happen,
Well, look at what happened in Canada yesterday. There are 9 dead from a school shooting. Okay, and this is in Canada, which has very strong gun laws. We have all types of security at schools like Hammond Central. You can't just walk into that school. If you go and drive your car and get out of your car and try and walk in that school, you have to be buzzed in. You have to go through detectors. You have to explain why you're there. And when you put 300 or 400 kids out on the street, you're right. You're putting them out. You're putting them in harm's way. You're putting them at risk. You just never know what's going to happen. People see a large protest and they may not agree with it, or they may just become distracted. I mean, I don't think that the possibility of direct violence is there, but I think the possibility of accidental violence, somebody driving down the street, they get distracted and they're like, oh, look, Mike, what's going on over there? And then I'm not looking at the truck that's crossing in front of me. I have an accident, the truck bounces off me or I bounce off them, and I end up in that crowd, and children could get hurt. So I agree with you. There are some real inherent dangers in those protests, and I like the same answers that you have, so that you're asking for. So it's a great question.
One more thing, and I'm going to let you go after what I say is, but Chicago Bears ain't coming to Indiana.
No,
plain and simple.
Not at all.
So everybody out there have a wonderful, safe day. As soon as it gets warm enough, let's all start wearing shorts and T-shirts and cook out on the grill.
I'm all with you on that. Hey, thanks, Mike. Thanks for the call. 845-1100 is the number to call. Mike brings up some very good questions about these protests when they're at schools. What is the liability and what is the risk for students to be out there? And he and I talked the other day, and, there's also the academic question. I mean, should students be out there losing a few hours from school? I get it. It's not going to make or break the student's career. But when I look at Hammond schools, when I look at Hammond Central and look at their test scores and their proficiency rates, they're very low. And I would like to hear people talk about how we're going to improve that. Okay, we all know it's bad, but how are you going to improve it? So 845-1100 is the number to call. Again, it's one of many issues. I find it interesting too. Students are out there protesting about ICE, but maybe they ought to be out there protesting about the NIPSCO rates, because the impact of those rates is so catastrophic on so many people. And I'm hearing it from my own son. Look, folks, I'm very proud of my son, Tom. He's an attorney. He's now practicing law in Hammond with my brother, David. And they're doing bankruptcies. And bankruptcies, the level is up. And you have people coming in and they're not able to pay their NIPSCO bills. And what does the CEO of NIPSCO say? Well, we'll work with you to let you pay it down in payments over time. That's great. If you're going to pay that $1,000 bill that you got for December over time, and then you get another $1,000 bill in January, and those NIPSCO rates never go down like they used to. It used to be like, April and May were relatively low bills. It doesn't happen anymore because they're charging all these delivery fees. Where's the end? Where is the end to that cycle? Because as soon as April and May are over, then June, July, and August hit, and people spend a lot of money on electricity, and then you're right back in that dangerous cycle again coming in the fall and the winter. So how are people supposed to pay these bills? So love to hear from you about the NIPSCO issue. I know several people sent me photos and sent me texts about the rally last week out in Maryville, and looked like it was well received. But are we getting anywhere? And again, I keep on harping about the local officials. Local officials help control the narrative. And I wish they would talk more about NIPSCO than they talk about the Bears, which aren't coming to Northwest Indiana, as Mike just broke. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll pick up the conversation. So please give us a call at 845-1100. You're listening to The Morning Call on WJOB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM. We'll be right back.
It's the simplest expression. The smallest thing that changes everything. A smile. So easy. A smile lights it up. Apologizes. And welcomes unconditionally. Because the shortest distance between two people
Have a great day.
is a smile.
Thank you.
Strag and Van Til, where making life easier starts with a smile.
For over 100 years, Roofers Local 26 has been keeping Northwest Indiana dry and safe. Since 1919, our highly trained members have built a reputation for skills, safety, and reliability. With a 4-year apprenticeship and certifications in OSHA safety, first aid, and CPR, we deliver quality you can trust. When you need roofing done right, choose Roofers Local 26, protecting what matters most for over a century. For more information, visit www.roofers26.com.
Tech Credit Union supports the essential role of union labor in building strong communities. That's why we offer hassle-free banking, financial empowerment, and a commitment to your success. Save for the future, handle life's challenges, and trust a partner that stands by hardworking union members. Tech Credit Union, the better option for you and your money. Visit techcu.org or call 800-276-8324. Tech Credit Union, supporting union families every step of the way.
But it's time. You gotta catch up. Yeah. I'll catch up with you. I'll be right back. I'll see you in a minute.
Yeah.
Well, what's up, boy? Hey, Ryan. Not tonight, man. Not tonight. Oh, yeah. You guys are right. Hey, come on. Let's go. Come in.
All right, folks, we're back. It's 845-1100 is the number to call. It's Tom Dabertin in the morning call on WJOB. This is a long day, so we've got plenty of time to talk, but we want to begin that conversation right now. Paul Goddard, Region News Source. Folks, if you don't subscribe, you need to subscribe. I know there's some free sites on Facebook, but you want to subscribe. He has the most up-to-date information, and he just texted me about the portage proposal for the Bears. And to me, it looks nice. I heard one sportscaster already dump on the idea of portage, saying that it's actually closer to Michigan than it is to downtown Chicago. I don't believe that the Bears are coming anywhere in Northwest Indiana. I think it was all a ruse to see if the Bears could get the best deal that they wanted out of Illinois, and that appears to be the case. The news media is making it pretty clear that Governor Pritzker is now at the table. And I don't mean that facetiously. I just thought about that. I probably shouldn't have said that, but as an analogy. But the fact is that Pritzker and the Illinois legislature is now talking to the Bears, and it appears unlikely that the Bears are coming to Northwest Indiana. You can make all the claims that you want about the taxes and everything else, but they want to stay in Illinois, and it's hard to get people to move. So, especially when you're moving one of the most iconic sports teams in the United States. We have some callers, so let's go to those callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Tom, how you doing?
Great. How are you?
Yeah, how you doing, Tom? Yeah, I'm all right.
Great.
Two things. This walkout they had at Hammond Central.
Yes.
Did you hear? I heard. They got a right to, they're entitled to their opinion. It probably was organized, I would assume. But I also heard a rumor that there was a teacher that refused to participate, and they put him on administrative leave.
I have not heard that. I would find that very interesting, because I would think if I were a teacher, and I don't care if the students were going out and marching against the NIPSCO rates, I'd be very concerned about liability, as Trucker Mike pointed out, and I think you share the same view. Should you put your career out on the line because students want to go out and protest, and one of them gets hurt, and then it's on you? So I don't understand if that's true. I think that needs to be explained as well. Absolutely.
Well, I was talking to some people about it that said they heard about it like that, and they were like, "Yeah, if it was a teacher, they would sue the school board or the principal, because just like they have a right to form of speech like that, and he also has a right to say if he wants to participate or not." Also,
I mean, look, if you were a teacher, would you take on that liability?
Well, possibly, depending on where, if they're walking down Calumet Avenue, no. If they're walking on Highland Street or Seoul, yeah, it's a little less crowded.
Sure, but if you're going to do a protest, where do you want to be? You want to be on the busy street so people see you. And, there lies part of the problem. I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm not opposed to, I understand that students have the right to protest, and I'm not opposed to them protesting. To me, I wonder the effectiveness, and I also wonder, I wonder about the liability.
Also, have you ever heard of a book called Invisible Coup?
No, I haven't. Go ahead. Tell me about it.
It's called Invisible Coup. It's by Peter Schweitzer.
Okay, I know who that is.
Yeah, I guess he just wrote a book recently, and it's supposed to be pretty good. It's about the Chinese living here, and it's about they're having babies here, and then they go back to China, and they raise these kids up, until they're 18, give them all kinds of crazy ideas, and then they come back over here. It's pretty interesting. I mean, this is I heard it on another radio station. I was listening to bits and pieces. You might want to check that book out.
You know what? I will check that book out. It sounds like something I'd like to read. I know this. I know that there is a lot of concern. I hear this from veterans, and I hear this from active military. I also hear this from, some pundits on television about the concerns about a number of Chinese Americans or Chinese nationals who've emigrated to the United States, moving into locations very close to some of our most secure military bases. So Whitman Air Force Base down in Missouri, for example. Why do they all want to live next to the air base that has the B-2 bomber, or the base that the B-1 bomber is at, or a number of individuals buying up properties around our nuclear missile sites? North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, those are not places that, you say, boy, I want to move to America and enjoy the worst winters on earth. And they're moving into those locations. And there's a lot of concern. And you see a few people talk about it. And I wonder if the author covers that as well.
That Chinese nationalist you talk about, I heard a story about the chancellor of Purdue Northwest is a Chinese nationalist.
I don't believe he's from China. I could be wrong, but I don't believe he is. I know, of course, there was the dust up thanks to Jed with his own made up language that he used to talk on the radio in Ishkamalushka. And there was the kind of the ill-timed imitation of him at an event that the former chancellor got embroiled in. But I haven't heard what you said, so I'll have to check into that one.
I thought that was gibberish.
Oh, I think what I think you're talking about is you're talking about not Purdue Northwest. You're talking about Purdue University. Now their president was born in China.
Oh, okay.
So the president of the whole Purdue system.
Purdue Northwest.
No, the president of the whole Purdue system. I think that's what you're talking about. But again, look, I don't have a problem if people want to come to the United States. They come here legally, come through the process, and come here for a better life. However, without being a conspiracy theorist, I do have some concerns about a number of Chinese nationals wanting to live next to our military bases. And I mentioned the book last fall about a nuclear exchange, and the author actually, Annie Jacobson, wrote in her book that the Chinese and the Russians would first know about our nuclear launches, not from their satellites, but from their agents on the ground who live next to our nuclear missile sites. And I mean, we know the Russians have them. We know that the Chinese have them. We don't have agents living openly next to military bases in China or Russia. They'd be arrested. But in the United States, we have a different system, and I understand that. But I think we have to have some level of security. And you've got Russian and Chinese agents living next to the missile base so that they can keep an eye on us.
I heard that. I think there's like 700,000 Chinese students from China in this country going to school. So,
and you know what?
If
they go to school here, and they better their education and they want to come here and become permanent residents and be Americans, that's fine with me. If they're here for more clandestine purposes, that's where I get concerned. And I don't want to read into too much of it, but I do know that I've been told by a number of people that it's an issue to be careful and to give cause for concern. And again, after reading Annie Jacobson's book last fall, it's very, very clear that when it comes to nuclear war, things could spin out of control so quickly. It's just frightening. And that book just scared the daylights out of me, kept me up at night for days on end. So, hey, thanks so much for calling. We've got some additional callers.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Tom, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, in reference to Trucker Mike's call about that Hammond High School walkout or whatever it was it
Yes.
at Hammond High? Well,
it was at Hammond Central,
rude.
yes.
This is going to sound rude, Tom, but let me explain. Hey, Trucker Mike, screw those kids. If they're informed enough as to oppose ICE, if they've been educated enough by parents at home and then at school 6 to 8 hours a day, and they still oppose ICE, then I think they're probably smart enough to know that a car could hit them while they're out there, or a mass shooting by somebody that opposes their ideals could occur, then they get what they deserve.
And look,
Tom,
I
you
agree.
understand what I'm saying?
Wait a minute. I agree with what you're saying, but I think the way you're saying it is a little concerning. Okay, I couldn't say screw those kids. I wouldn't want any kid to be hurt, maimed, injured, threatened in any way, shape, or form. And I realize you're saying it somewhat sarcastically, but Mike has a very valid concern, and that is about the safety of those kids. And when I say it's valid, I also want to point out that Mike actually called me yesterday and raised the issue with me and said, look, I have to ask, what about these kids' safety? So if this wasn't something that he, pulled out of the back of his head at, 6:05 this morning, he literally was concerned to call me, concerned enough to call me the other day and raise the issue. And I think it's a very legitimate issue.
Tom?
Who's out there looking out for those kids when they're out there protesting?
That's the point exactly. Any reasonable adult doesn't want anything to happen to a child. Okay? But why is ICE present? ICE is present because they're going after the bad guys. Bottom line is they're keeping those Hammond High School kids safe from the world out there. Is that not true?
They are, but I have to admit that even Donald Trump has said that the way they've been doing things needed to be toned down and needed to be adjusted. Okay, I think that some of their tactics were unnecessary. Somebody went after Adriana last Friday on the radio, and Adriana, I thought, gave a beautiful explanation. She said that she believes. She's totally in support of ICE going after bad guys and getting them out of the country. She also brought up the fact that she had some family members who came here illegally, but they had worked to change that status. And that's not so uncommon in the United States and in our history. And if people do come here, regardless of how they got here, if they want to change their status and become U.S. citizens and become taxpayers, I don't have a problem with that. And she got attacked for that, and that was wrong too. I think that most of us agree you want to get rid of all the bad guys, and the idea that that Minneapolis, for example, and Minnesota were shielding criminals, child rapists, murderers, robbers, all kinds of bad people. I don't think too many people would agree with that. And I don't understand how there are people who are taking to the streets in Minneapolis and they're actually protesting because they believe that, it's that those people should be here. I think that's incredulous. I think it's crazy. But at the same time, ICE needs to tone down some of its tactics. And even Donald Trump has admitted to it. Tom Homan's admitted to it. And I think you'll see some changes coming up. No system works perfectly from the get-go, and it's obvious that they need to make some adjustment.
Tom, why is ICE having problems finding and calling out the bad guys? It's simply because of these protesters. If protesters stay out of the way, ICE can make the hit, take the bad guy away very quietly. But these liberals don't care until it's one of their relatives that's raped or murdered. Yeah, I'll tell you what, next Wednesday, Tom, how about you and I have a list of all the females? Think about these women's rights. We love the women's cause. Liberal whites in Minnesota contesting everything when it's their own kind being raped and murdered. But you don't
look here, I'll give you the perfect example. How many liberals, I should say, because not all Democrats, but how many liberals shed a tear over Laken Riley? Okay, so your point's well taken. And look, again, I think that mainstream America agrees with the concept that we should go after the bad guys. And I don't think that should be an issue, and I don't think it should be up for debate or for protest. I also think that there's something wrong when it comes to our legal system because they still won't rule on sanctuary cities. All right, so you're basically saying that a city can set their own rules and defy federal law. To me, that's crazy because you and I grew up understanding the supremacy clause, understanding that federal law supersedes everything. The Supreme Court has said that the federal government is solely in control of immigration. So why are there these sanctuary cities? Because that runs afoul of what the Supreme Court has said. But sanctuary cities are still out there. After all, one of the largest sanctuary cities is just up the road in Chicago, and I don't understand that either. So, hey, thanks so much for the call. We've got to move on.
Three things real quick.
Okay.
The parents should talk to their kids about the real mission of ICE. Teachers, when it comes up in class, if a student brings it up, teachers should address it. Number two, Trucker Mike, the only reason a school system cares about these walkouts is because of liability and litigation. Tom, my last point. Number three, when you are out there at a walkout and you're waving the Mexican flag, think how fortunate you are to be in the greatest country in the world and what you came from. Talk to any veteran that has been in a poop hole country, and one of the greatest feelings they ever got when they had leave was to come back to the United States and kiss the ground and be thankful for everything and every opportunity they have in the United States of America. And to be out there waving a Mexican flag when you should be thankful to be here and everything this country has given you.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call. 845-1100. We've got several other callers, and I do want to get a traffic issue in. Got this from Paul Goddard, of course, said that concerning traffic backup on 8094 westbound, just west of Burr Avenue, a semi-truck was observed riding the median wall for approximately 1 mile, striking multiple signs in the Klein Avenue Bridge. And a Hammond canine unit has stopped the vehicle, but reportedly there's problems with the truck. So I can't give you any more information, but be careful westbound near Burr Street and Klein Avenue. We've got a couple of callers. Let's go to those calls. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Tom. I want to give you a traffic report. The traffic between my easy chair and the coffee pot is wide open.
and Mont, I was just going to say that I was just going to read that my favorite book critic, Mont Hanley, seems to be giving a thumbs up to the book The Invisible Coup by Peter Schweitzer. So go for it. You can do it yourself.
You're going to be on edge after listening to that or reading that. That is an amazingly eye-opening book, Tom. It really is. It talks about how elite Mexican politicians are actually trying to impact our elections. It's talking about what the caller said about how there might be as many as 1 million Chinese nationals who have U.S. passports, U.S. citizenship that can impact elections, all because of the anchor baby stuff. And they actually have they outline the baby tourism stuff that goes on with the Chinese. It's a very lucrative business. It's a very, very interesting book. I highly recommend it to anybody. I listening to Mike and the previous callers, something that I think people are missing is Democrats and these leftists are using these students for one purpose, and that is they want their Kent State moment. They want a kid shot or kid killed so that they can turn the tables on ICE, and people are basically supportive of what they're doing right now, taking out the illegal criminals, and they want that to be turned. And that is, these people want a Kent State moment. They really want to see a kid take a bullet like Alex Preddy did so that they can get up on the Congress and scream about how terrible ICE is, and they can turn this around because they know that they don't have the public support on this particular issue.
Well, you're right about that, Mont. And to me, that's frightening. Okay, we're talking about putting human life at risk for a political agenda. I found it interesting. In fact, I found it egregious and horrifying that someone who posts on social media, who I follow, who's very, very liberal, posted and said, "Tell me the number of people who have lost their life due to illegal immigrants." And she posted it, and people responded and started listing all the names, Lake and Riley and everybody else. And she said, well, you can't really claim that illegal immigration caused the loss of those lives. Absolutely, you can. And I think what Adriana said on Friday made a lot of sense. Let's go after the criminals. And, that's where the focus should be. And Tom Holman has said, hey, we got a little bit ahead of ourselves. We started to fight back because we weren't getting any help out of the state of Minnesota or Minneapolis. And hopefully that's turned around. But where it hasn't turned around, Mont, is that great, big, huge city called Chicago, just down the road from you and I.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and it's very scary.
I
very
don't know
scary.
the answers. I don't think any of us know the answers to how this is going to play out, but I do see that this is a ploy by the very, very leftist Democrats to put these kids in danger, hoping it's an actuarial fact waiting to happen. Tom, you and I both know this. Everyone with a brain knows this, and I would say to preempt this, people should be suing the boards because they have a fiduciary responsibility. When they take that board seat, they have a fiduciary responsibility, and parents, organizations out in the community should be filing preemptive lawsuits against them. Do not let these kids leave campus for a protest.
No, it's very scary, and you're absolutely right about that. And I appreciate the call, Mon, and I'm glad that you called. And by the way, I will just tell you, I brought a number of books down to Florida to read. Miracles Among Us was a popular book, but not worth buying. Bestseller, but bestseller in name only. Not that great. Take care.
The New York Times bestseller doesn't really resonate with me anymore.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. And I bought a number of them. And so far, not so good. And maybe in the 8 o'clock hour, if you can, call back and we'll talk some more about books, because some of the books that I got this year for Christmas, I've been fairly disappointed in. So, but we'll talk about books in the 8 o'clock hour. Take care. Let's take one more call because they've been waiting, and then we're going to go for a break. All right. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Tom. I've been
Good
trying
morning.
to find out how many windmills would it take to power a data center?
I think it would probably be all of northern Indiana down to Indianapolis. I think you bring up a very good point. NIPSCO invested in these windmills. They're not making any money. In fact, by the way, do you know who one of their big partners was in the wind farm that you see just south on I-65? Was BP Oil. And BP Oil, what did they do? They just announced that they wrote off $4 billion in clean energy initiatives that didn't work, that they lost money on. So that's why BP had a quarter that was in the red, because they wrote off all that debt. So they don't work. They just don't work.
Joe Biden's green energy policy has been a total failure. You cannot force something into the marketplace like the electric cars. Is there a place for electric cars? Absolutely. But you can't force the market to adapt like that. Billions of dollars wasted. Billions. And NIPSCO.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question about electric cars? So here I am down in Florida right now. And, you and I live in Northwest Indiana. And when you're in Northwest Indiana, you see all these Amazon vehicles, and they're all electric powered now. Okay. In Florida,
right,
where electricity is cheap, where it's warm out, so those batteries aren't put under a lot of challenge, I should say, by any means. I mean, they're easy to charge, easy to use. Do you know that you don't have any electric Amazon vehicles down here?
Really?
It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, maybe you understand it better than I. Maybe you're more mechanically savvy than I am about automobiles and trucks. But wouldn't you think that the vehicles down in South Florida, where the sun's always shining and it's always warm, that's where you would have electric vehicles? But that's not the case. They all run on gas down here.
Well, I can tell you this. With these new NIPSCO rates, you're not going to see a lot of electric vehicles.
Oh, that's
Let's
sure.
Look at what NIPSCO is doing right now. Okay? NIPSCO is telling the existing residential commercial companies, you're going to pay for all the infrastructure upgrades we need to do to handle the demand of the data center power requirements. Okay? That's what they're saying. Then they're going to turn around and sell that power to the data centers for half time of what we're paying. I'm going to tell you something, Tom. If the governor doesn't do something about this by the midterm elections, this state's going to turn blue because people are pissed. I agree
with you.
Outrage from people about an issue.
I totally agree with you. Look, this is an issue that the Republicans own, and they've got to do something about it. And if they don't, I think you're right. I think this is a huge issue that Governor Braun. I'm so tired of him talking about the Bears. Okay, I could care less, and I'm a lifelong Bears fan. They're not coming to Northwest Indiana. Let's be real. Let's focus our attention on the NIPSCO rates and all these delivery fees and all these service charges. Let's focus our attention where it matters. Again, you've got people that are declaring bankruptcy because they can't afford to pay their utility rates. That's ridiculous. This is America, and people can't enjoy America if they can't afford their utility bills.
I'm shocked, Tom. I'm shocked that the governor has not come out and said something about this. And like you said, they have to own this, Tom, because they approved these increases. And for them to bury their heads in the sand and think that there's not going to be any blowback, they're dreaming.
Yeah, and the guy that deserves the most. The guy that deserves the most blame for it is Eric Holcomb, who I thought was a really good guy and a good governor, but he's the guy that set up this whole system. He's the guy that had the IURC in place that approved all of these rate increases that we're now being stuck with. And it just doesn't make any sense. And again, we do things so backward sometimes. You'd think that electric vehicles would be common down in South Florida. They're not. Especially delivery vehicles like for Amazon and UPS, and yet they're trying to make them work in Northwest Indiana, where as soon as it gets cold, the capacity of a battery-powered vehicle is diminished. So if that's the case, why did you put them all in Northwest Indiana and not South Florida? And then, as you said, you've got all these wonderful windmills that companies like BP Oil are now writing off as bad debt. Just insane.
Well, General Motors just wrote off $20 billion. Ford's writing off $15 billion. What? You know what? This money was wasted. Wasted.
It was totally wasted.
You can buy a gas car that gets 40 miles a gallon.
Yeah. Well, the green energy deal was.
Where's the leadership in this country?
The green energy deal was just a extreme liberal agenda that didn't work. Look, I drive a hybrid car. That car that I drive day in and day out in Northwest Indiana is a hybrid, and I love it. And a few years ago, the Biden administration leaned on the big three automakers to try and get rid of hybrids because they said that they weren't efficient enough. They wanted electric vehicles. Now, under the current administration, Ford at least is bringing back hybrid vehicles. Hybrids are great. I get almost 40 miles to the gallon.
How can you beat that?
You can't.
You don't have to charge it.
It's wonderful. No, you don't charge it. It charges itself every time you hit the brakes, but people don't understand it. And I've had people tell me, in fact, I had one woman tell me to my face, well, your car is not energy efficient. And I said, you've got to be kidding me. And then she drove away in her SUV, which was gas powered. So unbelievable.
Great
hey,
show,
thanks
Tom.
so much for the call. Thanks for the call. 845-1100 is the number to call, but we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to the Morning Call on WGOB 1230 and 104.7 FM. We're also on the TuneIn app worldwide and YouTube Live. We'll be right back.
Introducing Powers Health, a health system with a new name and a strong legacy of caring for families in our community. One with a tradition of advanced specialized services and a vision for the future. One with a commitment to medical excellence and compassionate care. Everything we do, everything we believe, powers health.
Life's biggest challenges don't come with a warning. When legal issues arise, whether it's a car accident, personal injury, criminal charge, or representing you before municipal boards, you need a trusted advocate on your side. At Westland & Bennett, we listen first because your story matters. We provide strategic, personalized legal solutions to protect your rights, your freedom, and your future. Peace of mind starts with a conversation. Call 219-440-7550 today for a free consultation.
Do you like to work with your hands, creating something from nothing? Then think about Laborers Local 41. You'll get 432 hours of apprenticeship training, all while earning a wage with benefits and incurring no student debt. You'll travel to different job sites, learn tons of skills, and in a lot of cases, be the first one on and the last one off a job site. It all starts at laborers41.com.
Are you sausage curious?
Who's ready for Polish?
Big Frank Sausage has the very best Polish food in the region.
Have you had a mouthful of Big Frank sausage?
We have a full bar, dine-in, carry-out, delivery, and catering available.
I've had a mouthful of Big Frank sausage.
I've got a mouthful of Big Frank sausage.
219-378-9556. Smacznego i na zdrowie.
Who's ready for Polish?
Okay, we're back, and I want to give an update on traffic because all of a sudden traffic has definitely changed in the region. 8094, that is a huge backup now. It's all the way back to Broadway from Klein Avenue. So westbound on 8094, a large backup now due to a truck that was driving on the median, hit part of a bridge support, and police are on the scene, but that backup extends some distance, and it's really holding up traffic. So be very, very careful. We'll take a look at the rest of traffic in the Chicago area, and the Bishop Ford is starting to back up as it enters into the Dan Ryan. The Dan Ryan is doing its usual problems, starting at about 47th. Looking at other expressways, 294 looks pretty darn decent. For some reason, the map is showing a problem on Klein Avenue, but I don't think that's the case. This is one of those sensor problems that comes up. I've had people tell me there's no traffic problems up on the Klein Avenue Bridge, so I won't worry about that. Otherwise, again, traffic doesn't look bad, but westbound on 8094, all the way backed up now to Broadway. You need to take another route. Try the Indiana Toll Road. The Indiana Toll Road looks like it's in really good shape this morning, so you may want to take the Indiana Toll Road. And with that, let's talk about weather. Good morning again, Lynette.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 28 degrees with highs of 42 and lows of 28. It's going to be mostly sunny and cooler today, and then tomorrow on Thursday we'll be having highs of 41 and lows of 28. It should be cloudy in the morning, followed by clouds breaking for some sun, and then Friday we'll be having highs of 52 and lows of 31 with times of clouds and sun.
All right, and we've had a lot of conversation this morning already, so let's keep it going. 845-1100. We have some additional callers, so we lost the caller, so we're open right now. So a lot of interesting topics this morning. I mean, the issue of students and their right to protest. Again, I recognize their right and I support that right. My question is, how much liability does that create for the school system when these protests occur? As the one gentleman said, let them protest on the side streets, but stay off of Calumet Avenue. And there's been several people that have talked about the potential, at least for injury and violence. And we don't ever want to see that. But it's a concern. We've had some people call in about the NIPSCO, of course, and people calling in about the Bears. And it's pretty safe to bet that Lynette, one of our biggest sports fans in the Calumet region, Lynette, you're not probably going to be able to ever walk to see a Bears game in Northwest Indiana. I know how heartbroken you are about that.
That was actually one of my 2026 predictions, that they're not coming.
Yeah, that's like predicting that. It's going to be midnight in 17 hours. I mean, really, that's the best prediction you could come up with. Again, the Bears, I never believed that they were coming. Did you? I mean, you're young, you're very intelligent. Did you really believe that the Bears were going to come to Northwest Indiana?
Probably not, no.
Yeah, I look, I think it's called being used. I understand that, local officials had to at least play along. But the reality, I mean, the city of Portage holding a press conference today to announce their plan to have the Bears in Portage, just not going to happen. As one Chicago sports writer said, it's the dumbest ideas that he's heard so far about the Bears, because it puts them farther away from Chicago than any other site. So didn't sound very promising. We've got callers, so we'll go to the callers. Good morning, you're on the air.
How you doing, Tom?
Doing great. How are you?
Okay. You mentioned your hybrid car and the mileage you were getting a little while ago.
Yeah.
I remember my nephew out in Colorado. He's 40 years old now, but when he was like 22, he drove out here in his dad's Volkswagen passenger car. Was getting about 50 miles a gallon. Diesel's cheaper than, well, actually they sell it for a higher price than gas, but it's cheaper to refine. And, that's one of the big reasons that these big semis run on diesel. These ideas have been around for a long time. This whole thing with the Green New Deal, the windmills and all this and that kind of thing, It's right out of Europe. It's something that's been championed by the Democratic Party as their Green New Deal. And remember Trump talking about, I don't know if we can watch TV tonight, Mama, the winds doesn't seem to be blowing. You know, everybody knew that it was a liberal Democratic idea to promote this thing. And now that it's coming to reality and people are getting $400 NIPSCO bills, they see the fruits of this thing. I wish people would have waken up 15, 20 years ago. But this is what happens. If people doesn't understand until it hits them right in the pocketbook.
Well, again, you know, I enjoy driving a hybrid. I see no problem with it. In fact, I know that some police departments use hybrids because the electric pickup is so great. I don't understand why the Biden administration wanted to dump on hybrids. I think hybrids are a great way to improve efficiency, improve gas mileage, and still give people a very quality vehicle. And I didn't understand why they took such a negative view of hybrids. They're going to force everybody into electric vehicles and forget the hybrids. And that was a huge mistake.
Right. Well, my take on that, everything I've read about it over the years and all that stuff, is like I say, it's austerity. The idea is not to get you a vehicle that gets great mileage without it damaging the environment. The idea is to get you out of your vehicle. I always tell people that in the future, the new vehicle of the future is going to be called a BUS. They don't want you having a personal vehicle. The whole thing is about austerity, about your carbon footprint. Remember how many times did they mention that? But this is what they've been about for decades. It's nothing new. I mean, there was a lady named Rosa Corey out in California that used to be, well, she passed away now, but she was, I think, a real estate assessor out in California. And she was talking about Agenda 2030, Agenda 21 back 20 years ago, and about how they're going to basically take your property. They're going to limit your ability to travel. They're going to go after your personal vehicle. The whole thing is austerity to destroy the middle class lifestyle, and that's what this whole thing's been about from Jump Street.
Well, a few years ago when Uber and Lyft first came about, they were making the same claims, and you're going to have a community vehicle that if you really needed to take a drive, you used one of these. They have these smart cars near college campuses, which I think is a great idea for students that don't have vehicles. But this idea that we were no longer going to need garages. We were going to have electric vehicles on demand, and we were going to get rid. I can tell you this: the American culture, whether you're very liberal, whether you're very conservative, and anybody in between, is in love with vehicles. And the idea that somehow we're going to give up our vehicles, I think, is just not in the works. It's not in the cards. I think you'd see a lot more students out there protesting if they ever said that they were taking away our vehicles. I agree with you, that was the agenda, but I think it was just a stupid idea. People are not going to give up their vehicles. They like their independence. It's part of being an American, that independence. And I don't think private vehicles are going anywhere. I totally agree with you on this one.
Well, you're right about the American culture. That's just how we are. That's one of the great freedoms, is the freedom to travel. And Europe actually is knuckled under to this a lot more so than we have. Look what happened in Germany. But again, it's like I say, I wish people would get organized and realize what this thing's about. It's not just NIPSCO. There's these data centers they're putting in. There's all kind of plans for actually providing them with power as cheaply as possible. But when it comes to the customers, you're last on the list. There's a reason for all that. But it's nice to see people finally getting organized about this. But they got to realize that this is an agenda, literally an agenda. And if you don't organize and actually fight back against what they're planning on doing to your lifestyle, another thing is real estate. You keep hearing this stuff about BlackRock buying up all these single-family homes and making it impossible for people to actually buy a home. I think Trump just tried to address that somewhat by forcing these big mega companies like BlackRock out of the single-family home business as much as you can do. But this whole thing is organized, and people need to realize that, and they need to come together from both sides of the aisle, because we're all in the bullseye of the target. Doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican, and that's one of the ways they actually keep us all defeated, is get us fussing and fighting among each other, so we can't get organized and fight back against who's really pulling these strings.
Well, again, I think we live in a very difficult time. I will just mention this: I've been a bit of a proponent for the packaged nuclear generators and nuclear powered generators. And when you read, some of the legislation Indiana has passed, if we do get to package nuclear power plants, NIPSCO doesn't have to pay for that either. In fact, any study that they do on considering it is basically passed right on to the consumer as well. So you can't. How can you be a monopoly, okay, and be profit driven? To me, there's a real disconnect. But we've got to move on. Hey, thanks so much for the call. Lynette, let's take one more caller, and then we're going to go to Carrie, because Carrie from Haven House is here, and she's got some exciting news that we want to talk about, a fundraiser coming up. But let's take this additional caller because they've been waiting, and then Carrie will get right to you. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Tom. I'm going to make it short and sweet for you. Okay, I've had 4 children in school and graduate. When they were in school, every time that they went on any event, any field trip or anything, I signed paper galore every time. I can't tell you. So these kids that walked out of these schools, that are walking out of these schools and protesting, and the parents that are under 18, the child that's under 18, is the parent signing some type of paper allowing them to do that? And also, the kids are so far behind in school. I mean, everybody knows that has children in school, and you can read up on that. But did every parent sign a permission slip? That's what I would like to know, to let their child participate in these walkouts. Because I sign papers all the time for my child to even leave that school or participate in that school. And you can't tell me that every child was educated enough to know what they were doing. And I'm going to tell you what it comes down to is, like, follow the leader. When you're at that age, you're going to do what the other people are doing. And plus, I'm out of school today. But how was your grades?
Well, there's a lot of peer pressure. Let's face it. Well, there's a lot of peer pressure for kids, and I get it. And again, if they want to protest, I say that's fine. But let them do it at the football field where it's a little bit more secure. Let them do it in the parking lot. But when you start marching along Calumet Avenue and you're out there, I think you and a lot of other callers have brought up some very legitimate concerns about safety. And as you said, if your child wants to go on a field trip, you have to sign that form, right? Or they can't go. But yet they can go out. You don't sign any permission slips for them to protest. So I think that the Hammond School Board has some explaining to do, and the Hammond School Administration. But at the same time, I can't dump on them too harshly, because other school districts have had the same protests and same challenges. So we live in a different time.
It doesn't make it right.
No, it doesn't. And we live in a different time and place.
We protect our children. I'm a mom. I protect my children when they were younger. This day, these kids are allowed to open the world through this phone, okay? And talk about the drugs. I do the addiction group. I do 2 addiction groups because my son is an addict, and he's in recovery right now. But the world is open, and the parents these days do not know what their children are doing because of this phone. And that's what has been lost. Know what the hell your children are doing, because there's so much out there that we protected in our day. We could protect our kids as much as possible. But these days, these kids are opened up to the world through this phone, and every child has one. As soon as they're born, here's a phone.
I think, though, that you and I've had this discussion before. You know what? You're still a parent. Your kids are grown. My kids are grown, but you're still a parent. You still worry about them. You still worry about their safety. You still worry about if they're going to be successful. You worry about their health. You quit being a parent the day you die. And, that was the advice my mother always gave me. And she used to remind me all the time, I'm still your parent until I die. And, of course, I miss her every day since. Tremendously. But you're absolutely right. Look, you worry about your children, you worry about what's best for them. And I just think that these protests, to me, are cause for concern because of safety. So you're absolutely right. Hey, thank you so much for calling.
Good day.
All right, why don't we do this? If you want, why don't we take a quick break? You want to take a quick break? And then we're going to go right to Carrie with Haven House. Carrie's in the studio. We're going to be right back. You're listening to The Morning Call with Tom Dabertin on WJLB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM. We'll be right back.
At Albert Diamond Jewelers, love is the heart of everything we do. That's why we're known as the Love Store. This Valentine's Day, we're celebrating the moments that matter most and the ones you'll remember forever. Explore our newly remodeled showroom with stunning pieces from David Yurman, Roberto Coin, Lagos, Mikimoto, and Shy Creations, along with exceptional watch brands and the most beautiful diamond rings. With every purchase over $99, receive a dozen roses, a box of chocolate, and a special dinner voucher. We'll see you at Albert's this Valentine's Day.
IBEW Local 697 electrical contractors bring the highest standard of electrical work to Lake County homes, schools, and businesses. From everyday fixes to once-in-a-lifetime builds, we don't just get the job done, we get it done right and up to the highest safety standards. When you need electrical work, hire the professionals who power Indiana. Powering Indiana, Lake County, bringing excellence to the job, creating a brighter future for our community.
Ogren Insurance, Hammond's oldest family-owned independent insurance agency, now in its third generation providing clients in the Chicago area with products from quality insurance companies to handle your every need. Regardless of driving history, Ogren Insurance can find the right coverage for you at competitive prices. To learn more about the insurance solutions and services we offer throughout Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan, call 219-933-0076 or visit our website, ogreninsurance.com. We're located at 6929 Homan Avenue in Hammond, Indiana. Do business locally with someone you know and trust.
For a fast and friendly car wash, go to Easy Clean Car Wash. Open 7 days a week in 4 convenient locations: Highland, Griffith, Cherville, and Lansing. Free vacuuming, air freshener, and a towel with every wash. It's fast, safe, and gentle. For more information and hours of all our locations, visit myeasyclean.com. Also, see how you can wash your car daily with our $10 Ultimate Wash for only $19.99 per month. Give your car the best clean at Easy Clean Car Wash.
All right, we're back, and now it's time to talk to one of my favorite people. Carrie, good morning. It's great to see you. You're in person in the studio, but you had to drive through some pretty bad traffic this morning.
Good morning. I did, yes. 8094 westbound is backed up around Klein.
Now, according to the traffic sensors, it's saying that the backup is all the way now back to Broadway.
Yes.
Is it all lanes, or is it just the outer lanes? Can you tell people a little bit more about what you experienced?
Yeah, sure. I believe there was an accident in the left lane. So that is definitely backed up, and that they were saying that was at Klein, but obviously, just like you said, the backup, it's stop and go traffic basically from the merge from I-65 on. So,
all right. So be very careful this morning. You got firsthand traffic from Carrie, who doubles not only as our traffic reporter, but also as the executive director of Haven House in Hammond. And Haven House has a big fundraiser coming up, and tell us about it.
Yes, we have our bowl-a-thon. It's been a couple years since we've done it, so we're very excited to do our bowl-a-thon, and that is on Saturday, February 21st at Plaza Lanes on Indianapolis and Highland, and that's from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., and we have tickets still available, but they are going fast, and also we have to have our head count in for food. For $40, that's the non-bowler ticket, which includes food as well as soda, water, things like that. And then $50 for our bowlers, again, includes food, which will be, I believe, pizza and wings, and soda and drinks. There will be cash bar. We do have some baskets that we'll have that people can purchase. Just a lot of just fun. It's a fun time to help us do some fundraising and raise funds for Haven House, which is the domestic violence shelter located in Hammond.
And you know, one of the things about Haven House is you're so transparent. And so right on your flyer promoting the event, you point out that it costs $45,000 each month to keep the shelter going.
Correct.
That's a huge cost. But when you break it down, you're talking about somewhere around maybe $1,200 a day. But then you've got usually anywhere close to a dozen individuals in the shelter a day, correct?
Correct. We are a 20-bed shelter, so we are a little bit smaller than some of the other shelters in the area, such as St. Jude and the Caring Place. So that $45,000 a month includes our staff salaries, all of the food that residents have available to them while they're in the shelter. We also provide all their hygiene products, basically everything you use on a daily basis from the time you wake up until the time you go to bed is provided free of charge to the residents in the shelter. So we never charge a fee to residents. Services are completely confidential. We also do supportive services, which includes case management, resources, referrals. We do life skills groups. We try to offer at least one a week, sometimes 2, 3 a week. We have people coming in and doing art therapy. We have the Liveness Project comes in and does programming and testing once a month for our residents. We also are working with Pillars of Wellness, and they come in and do a support group weekly for our residents on mental health. So we utilize a lot of community partners as well, but everything is provided free of charge. So all of those services.
Yeah, and for listeners, just understand, you've said this before. Your predecessor, actually, one time I was there, and she said, look, and it was a person that was coming into the shelter. And they didn't come in, they didn't have, looking to store their luggage. They come in with absolutely nothing. Many times they haven't had time to grab anything. And if they're bringing kids with them, they don't bring anything with them as well. So you have to provide clothing. You have to provide all the toiletries, all the personal hygiene, the food. It's a very costly operation, but it's done very, very efficiently. And it's just a great cause, folks. So please be generous and please support the fundraiser, which again, I want to give the date. It's February 21st. It begins at 6 p.m. It's at Plaza Lanes in Highland. So everybody knows where Plaza Lanes is on Kennedy Avenue. And again, Carrie, the cost is it's really reasonable.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you think about the fact that you can bowl for 2.5 hours and support a great organization here in Hammond. It's $40 for non-bowlers, so if you don't want to bowl, you're welcome to come and hang out, and then $50 for bowlers. We also have been offering the opportunity to sponsor a lane for $1,000, and basically you're buying a whole lane, which is 6 bowlers for $1,000. And we will also advertise if you're a sponsor, with signage, having stuff on our webpage, our Facebook page, and things like that, as well as we have some people who are doing, if $1,000 is a little steep, we do have people who are doing $500 sponsors for food and drinks, and that will also be advertised at the event and then on our webpage as well.
And again, you're always willing to accept donations, and Haven House needs our support as listeners and as viewers. And I will tell you one comical story about Plaza Lanes back when I was much, much younger. I think I was in high school or just out of high school. Some friends of mine and I went to Plaza Lanes, and my favorite foil in life, Rick Mossels, challenged me to see how far I could throw the bowling ball, and I got thrown out. I'm sure people won't be trying that. I didn't think about the damage it could do, and the manager came over and said, "You, the tall one, out now." And that's the last time I've been to Plaza Lanes to bowl. But it's a great evening, and again, this is a great opportunity to give back to the community, do something good, and we want to support Haven House as always. And again, February 21st, beginning at 6 p.m. If you want more information, how can they get more information about it?
They can go to our Facebook page. It is pinned on our Facebook page, and we're Haven House NWI on Facebook. And also you can go on to Eventbrite, where the tickets are being sold through, and just do a quick search and find the tickets that way. I'm laughing at that story. I'm curious how far you threw it, but we won't even get into that.
Way too far. I was in pretty good shape at the time, and I threw it way too far. And I just remember, Rick, who has been a friend. We have been friends since 1965. We met in kindergarten. Got in trouble on the first day and been friends ever since. And Rick just said, "Hey, I wonder how far you could throw a bowling ball." And I said, "I think I could do pretty well." And he said, "Well, go ahead and try it." And one of my other friends, Mark Sana, said, "No, you don't want to do that, Tom." And I said, "Well, why not?" He's challenging me. He's like, "You don't want to do that, Tom." And before I listened to Mark, I threw the ball. And here came the manager. And he's like, "You, the tall one, out now."
And here we are.
Here we are.
We will not encourage that at the fundraiser on the 21st.
No, not at all. We callers ask this all the time. So if somebody can't make the fundraiser, if they can't participate, how can they support Haven House? How can they get in touch with you? Obviously, there are no tours of the facility, but how can they get in touch with you and Haven House and make that donation?
Sure. So our crisis line is open 24/7. So we have somebody in the shelter. We have shelter advocates answering that phone 24/7. So not only if somebody is wanting to donate, but if somebody is in crisis and needs to come in for shelter. And that number is 219-931-2090. Our website is havenhousedvs.org, and you can always go on to our website. There's a donate button on our website, as well as a link to our Amazon wish list. So on our Amazon wish list, there is a variety of different stuff. As Tom was saying, we do have some clothing in the shelter for people who are coming in with absolutely nothing. So everything from underwear, bras, socks, some pajamas, just to get people through the night until we can figure something out for clothing later. Hygiene products, all kinds of different things are listed on our Amazon wish list. You can also reach out to the shelter itself if you have things that you would like to donate. We are a very small shelter. We're in a building, a old house it's actually 100 years old this year. So we don't have a lot of storage space for clothing. So we do work closely with Hearts in Motion in Cherville, and we will send our residents there with vouchers so they can just go down there. They don't have to spend their own money to get clothing, because a lot of times people are leaving with absolutely nothing. If we always say, if you can grab your documents, because that's one of our biggest hurdles that we have to overcome with some of our residents coming in is, they don't have their birth certificates, social security cards, driver's license. So we always encourage people, if they can safely grab at least those things, if they're fleeing domestic violence, that will help a lot.
Yeah, and you just hit a grand slam home run on everything. You covered the wish list on Amazon. You covered how people can donate, and just the realities of things, because I have been in the shelter before. I know exactly where it is, and I know the size of it. You're right. I mean, this is a shelter first and foremost. You don't have a lot of storage. You don't have a lot of ability to take those great big donations of cases of things. But if people want to donate, there are ways to do that. Mm-hmm. If they don't want to give cash, there's a lot of ways to donate and support Haven House. And even the idea of just periodically looking at that wish list and saying, hey, I can't buy all of this, but maybe they can buy something. And so if they don't want to give cash, there's other ways to support Haven House. And your mission continues, and it's regrettable that it has to be there. But life is life, and you know, we wish for a better life for everyone, and it starts with Haven House for a lot of people that are in domestic violence situations, and it gives them the chance to restart their life and to really live the American dream. And so I applaud you for everything that you do, and your staff and your volunteers. And we've got to mention Dave Gehrman, because if we don't, he's going to be calling. Actually, I told him to call, but he hasn't called yet. So, but you know, again, what a great opportunity to do something well. And again, it comes up next Saturday, right? Mm-hmm. February 21st.
Yes.
And it is Plaza Lanes in Highland. And the cost is $50 if you want a bowl, $40 for the non-bowler. So, and there's sponsorship opportunities. Businesses that are listening, you can be a sponsor. So contact Haven House. Great fundraiser. And Carrie, thank you as always for being here, and thanks for giving the traffic this morning too.
No problem. Be safe out there, people that are stuck in it.
Absolutely. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll reopen the phone lines. You're listening to The Morning Call on WJOB 1230 AM 104.7 FM.
From the gas in your car to the heat in your home and the roads that you drive on, our work powers daily life. We are USW Local 71, the proud men and women of the Whiting Refinery. We're not just refinery workers. We're your friends and neighbors, raising our families here, shopping in the same stores, and cheering in the same stands. USW Local 71, powering the region because we are the region.
When life takes you places and you can't get to the store, shop online with Strack and Van Til To Go. Our to-go service is easy to use, and it can save you time and money. Once your order is in, our own Strack and Van Til team preps your order with care. For delivery or pickup, enjoy the convenience of letting our to-go team shop for you. Enjoy your special moments. Sign up online today at shop.strackandvantil.com.
For over 140 years, the Central Midwest Carpenters have built our communities in Northwest Indiana. Are you ready to join the effort? We have long-term work, competitive pay, and the best benefits in the industry. We pride ourselves on innovative training and commitment to worksite safety. Earn as you learn as an apprentice. A solid career built on a solid legacy. For more info, go to carpenters.com.
Are you searching for a college where you belong? Calumet College of St. Joseph wants to know you and give you the support you need to succeed. Are you worried about how you'll pay for your degree? 95% of our students receive financial aid, including scholarships and grants. Need some extra help with your classes? You'll benefit from our small class sizes, free tutoring, internship planning, faculty mentors, and so much more. Come experience our accepting, supportive college family for yourself. Schedule your campus visit and apply at ccsj.edu.
All right, just a shout out to Brian Lowry. We heard the ad for Calumet College, and if anything goes wrong with your experience at Calumet College, blame Brian Lowry. That's my message to listeners. 845-1100. I had a lot of people are like, why are you blaming Brian Lowry? Why not? He's a longtime friend, so he gets the joke. I get the joke. Nobody else does. We've got some callers, and I got to apologize to Dave Gehrman, who said, Tom, I was on hold for over 20 minutes. I have to go to work, so you had to hang up. So sorry about that, Dave, because he's a big supporter and involved with Haven House. But we have callers, so let's go to those callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, I hear these speakers who are supposedly experts on international relations and so forth, and when they talk about China and energy, they always make the point that they're huge producers of solar power and wind power and so forth. For some reason, they never mention that the Communist Chinese are building coal-fired plants like crazy. Are you aware of that?
Yes, they are. And China is one of the biggest polluters of the atmosphere. They are, they have some horrible discharges, but they're given a pass because they're considered to be an emerging nation, an emerging economy, even though they're the second largest economy on earth. They get a pass because these nincompoops that go to conferences like Davos say, oh, well, the Chinese are still evolving. They're still growing. We have to support them. We have to give them special consideration. I saw a speech by Al Gore, Walt. What a ridiculous buffoon that guy has become. First of all, claiming that every year we release the destruction of 750,000 atomic bombs into the atmosphere. What a moron this guy has become. I mean, he's just there so they can get airtime and still be relevant. And he was explaining that China, well, we have to give China special consideration because of their population. They're the most populous country on earth. Wrong. India is the most populous country on earth. We don't give them special consideration, but we have to give the Chinese, he says. Al Gore is just an idiot. And a lot of those people who argue about the environment, look, I'm all in favor of the environment, of environmental causes, totally. Completely. After all, I'm one of the people who founded the charge to protect George Lake in the Robertsdale section of Hammond from becoming a sand mine and a sanitary landfill, which is nothing more than a garbage dump in the 1970s. I get it. But don't tell me that China has to be treated specially because, well, we're going to let them, go ahead and pollute the environment, but the United States won't do that. That's hogwash.
This is an article out of the Chicago Tribune dated February 7th. Headline, along with solar wind, China sees staggering buildup of coal plants. More than 50 large coal units, individual boiler and turbine sets with generating capacity of 1 gigawatt or more were commissioned in 2025, up from fewer than 20 a year over the previous decade, a research report released Tuesday. And with respect to talking about India, the article notes China commissioned more coal power capacity than India did over the entire past decade. It's sickening that the eco crowds, they give no credit to the United States in terms of its record in terms of air pollution. I mean, since the Clean Air Act of 1970, the air in the United States has been improved 80%, and at the same time, we have to eat the pollution, air pollution that comes out of China, the number one polluter, and India, type thing. It's time to just tell the truth.
Well, I can tell you, when I was in China many years ago. And I was there with a delegation from the city of Hammond. We were in a glass plant, and we couldn't breathe. The air in the glass plant was so filthy and so dirty, you could feel it. You could feel it land on your arms. And the plant manager said, "Oh, is the air bothering you?" And we all said yes. And he said, "No problem." And they opened up these giant doors on both ends of the plant and sucked all the pollution right out into the atmosphere. There was no controls. There were no scrubbers. There were no smokestacks. They just blew it right out, right onto the town that we were in. Right. Unbelievable. Hey, Walt, thanks so much for calling. If you want to call back, we've got a number of people holding. So if you want to call back in the next hour, please feel free to do so. 845-1100, we've got additional callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Oh, you were talking about hybrid vehicles. I think we're going to see it in the not so distant future. I think you're going to see a 60 to 70 mile per gallon hybrid quick. And
really,
and I'm not talking like I'm not talking like a Prius. I'm talking like a real vehicle. Something comfortable and that you could travel in. Yeah, I think you're going to see 60, 70 miles per gallon real quick.
Well, I drive a Lincoln MKZ. Okay, it's 2017. It's got 157,000 miles on it. It's going great. The batteries are still running at over 90% charge. So it's running great. And, it's the one vehicle that I can actually sit in the back seat. Not that I ever do, but I can sit in the back seat. So it's a good sized vehicle. And I can actually check the mileage for the life of the vehicle, which is just under 40 miles per gallon. For those 157,000 miles, I've gotten just under 40 miles to the gallon. That's amazing. That's amazing gas mileage. Yeah. And I'm not, and I'm one of those guys that, when I'm on I-65, I'm not at the back of the pack. I'm leading the pack. And my gas mileage gets diminished on some of those trips. But the fact is that I get great gas mileage. When I drive around town, I'll drive from Whiting to Menards in Hammond or Home Depot. And I will come back and I'll say to my wife, Donna, guess what? And she's like, oh no, here we go. What was your gas mileage, Tom? And it's like, I had 68 miles to the gallon. I had 72 miles to the gallon coming back. That's amazing gas mileage in the city. Why we don't promote hybrid vehicles is beyond me. But you're saying you believe 60 to 70 miles to the gallon. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, easy. I mean, well, right now, well, I'll put it this way: I got someone that I know. They have the new Honda Accord hybrid, and he's doing about scotch over 100 miles per day on his commute, and he gets when he's not warming it up in the winter for 10 minutes, because that kills your mileage. But he gets a 52 mile a gallon out of a current Honda hybrid Accord. So 60 mile per hour, 70 miles per gallon is coming quick.
Yeah, and again, it's a great way to be environmentally conscientious, and at the same time, save some money. I mean, save some money. Look, when we drive my Lincoln down to Florida versus driving our Ford Edge, which is an SUV, we make a lot more stops with that Edge than we do with the Lincoln.
Oh no, yeah, no, it's it makes it nice on the pocketbook too. I mean, that's just the facts. So,
yeah. I mean, look, again, why not create vehicles that people will drive? Okay, you don't have to find a place to plug it in. You just get in the vehicle and you drive, and your braking does the rest. It recharges those batteries, and you get some really great gas mileage. I just don't understand why the Biden administration was so negative toward hybrids. Just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. And just one last thing, and I'll leave you with this. If Elon got in this game, you'd really see something. And I wish he would. I wish he'd do do both. He could keep his electric. That's fine. But I really wish he'd get into the hybrid market here. And I think you'd really see some crazy, wild stuff,
I'm not a huge car nut. I understand how cars work. I understand the mechanics, but I'm not a huge car buff, so to speak. I do like to go to car shows, and I have been told that the Tesla product. My son-in-law bought a Tesla, and I rode in it. It's amazing, the technology, the craftsmanship. And I'm told by auto repair places that once you get to know the Tesla, it's one of the best built cars in America. It's really that good. And you're right. If he got into hybrids, he could control the market. No doubt about it. Hey, thanks so much for the call.
Yeah.
845-1100 is the number. We have some additional callers, I believe.
Nope.
Oh, we do not. We cleared the phone lines. Oh, boy, look at that. So now's time to call, because people always say, Tom, you let people stay on too long in those first 2 hours. You've got to move through. So I've actually moved through this morning. So if you want to call in, now's the time to call us. I'm talking about a lot of things. I think that last caller in the net has a great idea, which is let Elon Musk build hybrid cars. Have you ever ridden in a Tesla?
Nope.
I had not myself until this past fall. My son-in-law bought one, and I've got to say it's really amazing. And I do work for a very large auto repair chain in the Chicago area, CDE Collision Centers. I'll give them a shout out. Great people, and they took me to their Bolingbrook location. And their Bolingbrook location is actually dedicated to repairing electric vehicles. And the owner of the company said, Tom, you need to see the craftsmanship and the quality that goes into Tesla. And I said, really? It's that different? And he said, yes. And he showed me why. And they had cars torn apart. And he said, take a look at the car harnesses, take a look at the wire harnesses, I should say, and take a look at some of the things that you see, you don't see unless you're under the surface. And it was pretty impressive. And, I never know what to make of Elon Musk. Elon Musk is such a unique individual. He's kind of all over the place, amazing with his ideas on how things can work, and some of them do and some of them don't. His boring system has been kind of boring as far as digging tunnels, but everything else seems to come together. His rockets are great, And if he built hybrids, boy, we'd sell a lot. We have a caller, so we'll go to the call. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I finished my cup of coffee, so I thought I'd call back in.
Oh, I thought maybe you dug out your shorts.
I put the dog out the door, and not yet. I got to wait till it gets sunny.
Okay.
You know, my boss that I drove a truck for the last 20 years was a Mexican, and his whole family is Mexican. I've been around every kind of race, color, every kind of situation. I've never been prejudiced. And with this ICE, okay, they do a good thing of getting somebody that come to our country illegally and committed a crime and harmed one of us full Americans. I have no objection to that. But when they're going after somebody that, I know some people that's been around here many years and they're trying everything by the book to get legal to be a citizen, and it's taken them forever. I've met many people, know people. I have no objection to that because I'm not prejudiced on any of that stuff. But now, my academy, when I'm teaching, I had a student complain went and called all the way to New Jersey because he explained it to our office. This guy came from another country, was trying to get his CDL, could speak just barely enough English, which they let him come to the class. And when I'm going through everything, how I teach them to learn about to drive a truck, operate a truck, and do it safely, he just could not do it. And they wanted me to take him to get tested. I says, I am not taking him to get tested. He's not ready. Well, that student got mad at me and hates me now because I would not take him to get tested, because when he shows me that he knows everything about a semi, how to operate a semi, and do it properly, I will test him. And the New Jersey called me up and talked to me, and I says, I'm not taking a student. I stayed home that day because I was supposed to take that student. I told him, I'm staying home. I'm not taking that student because simple reason.
Let me ask you some questions, Mike, because this has been in the news. Okay, so there have been a number of drivers, and they're not from a lot of them have come from countries such as China and Europe that come to the United States and they get a CDL, and they somehow are allowed to drive great big semis like you used to drive and that you teach now. They're driving them on American highways, and if you can't understand English, how can you operate that vehicle safely?
Yeah, well, nice thing now is it was always the law with Indiana and all the states that to get your learner's permit to get a CDL, you had to speak and read English. Years ago, they did not enforce it, but now, I was talking to somebody that works at the license bureau, and they got a little sheet. Somebody comes in and they can't even hardly speak English. They'll read 3 questions. They have to read 3 questions to them in English. They have to speak 3 questions in pure English. And then they'll give them a piece of paper with signs, and they got to know what the signs are. If you can't do that at the license bureau, you do not get a permit for a CDL now. But
all right, but
some of the
here's
students
the
come
question.
here.
But wait a minute. Here's the question. The question is, some people say, do you really need to know English that well? Do you need to be fluent in English to drive a semi? Explain that, because you're an expert on it. So explain why it's necessary.
Yes, you do. You need to speak just enough English. I've had students that they had to learn to speak English so we can teach them. But the thing is they need to be able to understand English signs and everything, because, I was with a student that he had enough hours in the class. We're going down the road, and I asked him, I said, what's that sign say? And he goes, I don't know. I said, what? And it's a plain and simple question, because there's a lot of good truck drivers out there. I've had a lot of students come from other countries and taught them, and they took their time and started speaking good English, and they became good truck drivers. And one, after he graduated from our school about 6 months later, how he's doing so good. The company put him in better trucks, do him better, because he is being focused on operating that semi safely, because when that 80,000-pound truck is going down the highway, you've got you, your family, and everybody around it driving down the same road as that person. And our academy schools, not just ours, all the others, are trying to make sure that the new ones that are starting to drive a truck operate them in a very safe manner, so that.
Well, but the argument, that's made. Wait a minute. The argument that's made by some individuals is that the signage, basically, you don't have to speak English to be able to read wrong way to understand a lot of the directional signage. And they're saying that you don't need to speak English. And that's the argument. In fact, that was made by someone out of California recently. And you're saying, and you've been in the business for 40 some years, you're saying hogwash, they need to be able to understand English.
Yeah, my boss had a driver when I worked with him. Every time I went down to a place in Kentucky to load, he would come by he would be sitting in a lot where we have to check in a kiosk machine to check in. When he sees me get out of the truck to go in and check in, he would come in, he'd hand me a piece of paper, because he could not speak English. He didn't understand how to operate the kiosk machine. So I got tired of that. And one day I just checked in and I went back to the truck. My boss calls in and says, "Why didn't you check him in?" I says, "That's his responsibility. If he don't know how to do that, he shouldn't load that load on that truck." Because simple reason, I've been associating with some kind of trucking company around here, and I don't know how they're getting around the ball hiring these people, because first thing, they can't get a permit unless they can speak English and read English, and I don't understand how they're getting around it now.
Well, again, it's an interesting challenge, but we've got to move on. But if you got one more comment, then we got to move on. Go ahead.
Yeah, about the hybrids, my relative lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he lived here. He's always had a hybrid all his life, or until they were started to be made. And one of his wore out, had to get another one. And he said that's the best thing he ever got, because, his maintenance has been low on it, and he gets good mileage and everything. And now the thing, too, is about, I'm going to let you go in a second. They want you all electric cars? Okay, fine. Now you got to plug that car in either at home. Now, the NIPSCO's already raised their rates. You plug that my boss bought an electric car about a year or two ago for work. He's getting rid of it because he saw what plugging it at home, how that electric made his NIPSCO bill go up. So he's getting rid of it and going. No, so everybody out there have a safe day. And one other thing, real short, when everybody's driving down the highway and you're around a semi, take your time and either pass the semi, give them room, move over, because you got 80,000 pounds compared to 5,000 pounds. You think you're going to cut right into a semi. You know who's going to lose? 3,000 pounds. Please.
I just wish some of them were as courteous. I just wish that some of those drivers were as courteous to cars. Hey, thanks, Mike. 845-1100 is the number to call, but I am being told by Lynette that it's time for a break. So you're listening to the Morning Call on WJOB 1230 AM 104.7 FM. And a quick shout out. George Stoya, if you're listening, please call in, because George Stoya had one of the best takes on the Super Bowl halftime show that I've read anywhere. So George Stoya, you got to call in. I know you don't like when I do this to you, but you got to call in, my friend. We'll be right back.
If you're thinking of finishing your basement, installing outdoor security cameras, or your business has plans to break ground on a new project in 2024, Powering Indiana, Lake County is your source for the region's best electricians. With IBEW, Local 697 electricians, you're choosing the highest level of safety and reliability. Visit poweringindiana.org today and ensure your project is in the hands of skilled professionals.
Before Notre Dame Federal Credit Union, we were being charged various maintenance fees and various check writing fees for all of our accounts. And with Notre Dame, we don't have that. We have that true community partnership. We get interest based on all of our parish and school accounts. And the interest rate is really second to none.
Have you ever considered becoming an iron worker? Local 395 is now accepting applications for their apprenticeship program. Go to ironworkers395.com. Look under the training section, click on apprenticeship, and scroll down to the application. You must be 18 years old, have a high school diploma or GED, and you must be physically able to perform the work of the trade. Find out more by calling the apprenticeship school in Lake Station at 219-962-7675 or visit ironworkers395.com.
At Albert Steinman Jewelers, love is the heart of everything we do. That's why we're known as the Love Store. This Valentine's Day, we're celebrating the moments that matter most and the ones you'll remember forever. Explore our newly remodeled showroom with stunning pieces from David Yurman, Roberto Coin, Lagos, Mikimoto, and Shy Creations, along with exceptional watch brands and the most beautiful diamond rings. With every purchase over $99, receive a dozen roses, a box of chocolate, and a special dinner voucher. We'll see you at Albert's this Valentine's Day.
All right, let's get back to the show, and I want to talk about traffic real fast because traffic is really becoming a nightmare now in both directions on 8094. The backup in the westbound lanes go all the way back to I-65. In the eastbound lanes, there is, and I'm assuming that part of this is a gaper delay because it ends at Klein Avenue, but it is backing up at least to Indianapolis Boulevard now. So traffic is not going anywhere on 8094 this morning in Northwest Indiana. So you need to take a look at alternate routes. The Indiana Toll Road looks pretty good. There is a little bit of a slowdown at I-65, but that's probably people trying to get onto it. Otherwise, the roads in Northwest Indiana look pretty good going across the line into Illinois. 294, a little bit of a backup as it gets to the state line going eastbound, probably because of the backup at Klein Avenue again. Otherwise, not too bad until you get over to Alsip, and then there are accidents basically now on 294. So it's going to force you onto, I don't know. It'll force you basically onto the Bishop Ford and to the Dan Ryan. The Dan Ryan is all the way backed up now into the Bishop Ford. So it's not looking real good for getting around this morning in Northwest Indiana or the Chicago area. The Stevenson, the Eisenhower, and the Kennedy are a mess. They usually are. But the Ryan is a total mess. 294 is now, again, a mess, and I just want to give an update. This just updated all the way basically from back from about Markham now over to Palos Heights. So 294 is a mess as well. So good luck out there because it's not going anywhere fast. 845-1100 is the number to call. Before the we've got a caller because I want to explain. I'm hoping George Stoya calls in because he had the perfect take and explanation of the halftime show for the Super Bowl. But let's go to the caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hi. Hey, I had heard that mom call in and ask some questions about was there a permission granted by the parents to protest? And I don't subscribe to the Times, so I don't read the article, but I'm not sure how many children were there. But if it's a high school, you're going freshman to senior, probably maybe 13 years old to 18? I don't know. I did see a clip last night from a mother in Seattle, Washington, who was asking the same question that your caller was. Do your parents know you're here? And a couple other questions. Tom, they pulled her hair. They beat her up. They swore at her. It was relentless. And there was a police officer watching and did nothing. She finally was escorted over by an elderly gentleman to the officer, and she wanted to talk to who was in charge, and he said he was. And I guess they were going to get back up and do something. I don't know, but this is out of control.
Well, it is out of control. It's out of control, and it's scary. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Pardon?
What did you say? Go ahead.
Do you know how many people were there? How many attended this protest?
I've heard 300 to 400.
Freshman, senior year, and they all were there? Or
No.
I don't know.
No, I've heard 300 to 400 is the estimate that the Times and others reported. So somewhere between 300 and 400. But look, I understand the peer pressure. And so some students may have been out there and some students may have said, hey, I don't want to sit in class. I'd rather go out and, be outside. So I get that. But the bottom line is that the point that you made in the previous caller who talked about her children make is so relevant. I mean, you have to give permission for them to do anything and everything. But when they go out to these protests, you don't. And they're outside. And as callers have mentioned before, it's a dangerous world that we live in. And there are kooks and crazies. And Trucker Mike points out there's just bad drivers. And you just don't know what could happen. And you can't insulate your kids. They're not eggs. But, you want to do what's best for them. And Hammond Schools has a
freshman
challenge.
Year, how old are you? 13, 14,
13, 14 years old, right?
Yeah. I mean, I do not agree with that.
Well, and let's be honest. The other thing is that Hammond Schools doesn't do very well academically, and it would be nice. It would be nice if, for a change, we heard how they're improving test scores, how they're bringing them up, because when you've got a 4% proficiency in math or a 26% proficiency in English, in reading, it's pretty scary to me. And please don't tell me that those scores are down because they're the minority population. I know plenty of individuals who are African American who are just as intelligent as me. I know plenty of Hispanics who are just as intelligent as me and probably more successful. And so don't tell me that that's the reason why they're being held back. And I know some individuals, by the way, who grew up literally in some of the worst poverty that this nation has, and they were minorities, and they've done extremely well, far better than I would ever even dream to do. And so that's just a lame excuse, if you ask me.
Yeah, and the Times did not say about any permission slips or anything in their article. Is that correct?
No, they
like I said, I can't read it. I get the paywall, and
Right. Yeah, they did not mention it, and I'm sure there weren't permission slips. I'm sure there weren't.
Yeah, and I would encourage folks to do a search on the computer. Seattle, Washington, mom assaulted at ICE high school, protest, or even a few words. The video's kind of short, but you'll get the idea. And most of them were young girls who were doing the beating on this mother.
Well, it's just, I know what you're talking about, and it's just as bad as that situation that happened on the south side of Chicago where the mom was protecting her children, and the child, in fact, had some disability, and she was protecting them, and they were just beating the daylights out of her. It's just, that's a horrible tragedy. And unfortunately, you can say, oh, that's an extreme situation, but you see those videos all the time. Yep, you see those videos all the time. Hey, thanks so much for the call.
Okay, you take care. Great show.
Thank you. 845-1100 is the number to call. And I was saying before we took that call about George Stoia. So George pointed out that the halftime show for the Super Bowl is basically a 15-minute commercial. Okay, it's a commercial, and it's largely because the NFL and football is an American sport. It's largely a commercial that kind of gets played worldwide. And his point was Bad Bunny speaking in Spanish didn't do us any benefit, because the whole idea is to try and promote America and try and promote the game. And if the people that are watching don't get it, and the people who tune in don't understand it, then it didn't do much good. And he had a great take, and I wish and hope that he calls in, and I'm hoping that somebody else very near and dear to him is listening right now, and she makes him call in. But 845-1100 is the number to call if you want to talk about Bad Bunny or anything else, and we've got plenty of callers. So good morning. We'll go right to those calls. Good morning.
Good morning, Tom MX.
Hey, MX, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing great, and I think you were one of the people who posted. I think you said Bugs Bunny instead of Bad Bunny. I like that. Go ahead.
So let's go a little bit deeper. How I'm during the football season, I was driving by there at night to go to my friend's house. He's an electrician, and the cops are out there. Constant fights in front of Morton High School, 2, 3, 4 weekends in a row. And I asked somebody, what's going on? And they're having fights. So that's one thing. And then we have some misinformed kids doing what they're doing now. Now, I, for one, have nothing against protesting. Nothing at all. They could have protested after school, but not during school. And I don't want to bring it up again. Everybody did how bad the grade average is. Mm-hmm. And you know what? The influx of Illinois' license plates everywhere. I don't like that either, because license plates pay for schooling. So now a referendum's going to come up. And do I really? ICE are police agents. They're police, and we just had defund the police. Now we don't like ICE agents. And when this referendum comes up, I'm not paying for these kids to fight at Morton High School during the football game. I'm not paying for these kids to protest when they should be in learning. Now, if they were all geniuses, you kind of cut them. Everybody gets cut slack. But the misinformed kids out there, and the one that had the black sign and referenced ICE to KKK, it's kind of far-fetched when the Democrats started KKK. I just think these kids, it's sorry that they're so uninformed, but so I have a better vision because I live here. Let's say you're sitting here fighting and you're using up all our police department cars on a Friday night during a football game, and you're out there doing that. So I think maybe something has to happen here. This is completely wrong. Now, I'm not against protest. Well, ICE, that's fine.
Okay, again, you bring up some good points, and as you said, not against protests. And, I don't want to spend the whole time talking about Hammond schools and their academic performance and their shortcomings, although I think we need to, because it doesn't speak well of our future as a city when our schools are this bad, and it doesn't speak well for the present because it causes a lot of parents, a lot of families to move out. But we'll take that up in a different discussion, different day. Again, if students want to protest, it's fine, but I think that there needs to be some consideration for their safety. I think that you bring up some valid points, but it is what it is. And again, what bothered me was the number of parents who posted on Facebook how proud they were of their child being out in the protest. And I'm thinking to myself, do you really understand all the details? And as you said, some of the signs, that the signs about, the Republicans are all Klans members. Well, that's not true, because the Republicans didn't start the Ku Klux Klan. The Democrats did. But there are plenty of Republicans that are members of the Klan, and there's some Democrats too.
Yeah, I got a hold of that and put it in MX Cartoons. That one got me. But I'm going to let you go with this. I'm not going to vote for any referendum again like I did before if this is what we're putting out, fist fighters and uninformed people. Thank you, Tom, for your time. I'll let you go.
Hey, thanks, MX. And look, he brings up some valid points, folks. You're asked now to support these referendums for the schools, and why should you support them if you're not seeing progress and you're seeing just problems? So it's a good point. 845-1100 is the number to call. I think we have some more callers, so we'll go to those callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Tom, when you get back to good old Northwest Indiana on a regular basis, and I'm going to recommend a very good program on local public television called Energy Switch. It's at Tuesday at 4 o'clock. It runs from 4 to 3. There's a moderator by the name of a guy named Tinker, and he's a real moderator. He's very knowledgeable, and then he has two new people each week. Very often, it's a professor, and then somebody from industry. And Tinker makes certain that everybody gets both parties get their chance to speak and so forth. But if you want to hear authoritative information about the energy issue, that's the place to take it in on a regular basis. It's sponsored by Arizona State University, and it's a great program. I mean,
so
very
I
often
actually
academic.
You mentioned it before, and I actually watched an episode the other night. It's available also through the PBS app on smart TVs. So I watched the first one episode. I shouldn't say the first episode, but I watched an episode the other day, and I agree with you. It's very informative, and it really kind of gives you a all sides perspective of energy issues.
Right.
So you're right about it. It's a very educational program because it doesn't have just extremists on the right or extremists on the left. It has a very balanced program, and it was very good. I agree with you. Very, 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 very informing.
This ongoing tragedy involving the kidnapping out of Tucson. And, any case, Tucson is only about 60 miles from the Mexican border, and I was reading recently that kidnapping is like a cottage industry in Mexico, and people being kidnapped are not just wealthy people, like they're just ordinary people, poor people are being kidnapped, and frankly, I can't help but think that I'm sure the authorities have looked into this. That it could very well be that this 84-year-old lady was snatched by Mexican criminals. It's only 60 miles away.
I don't know. I don't know that I want to go that far and speculate, but I will say this: the number of high-profile kidnappings for ransom in the United States has almost become non-existent. The last high-profile kidnapping that anybody could think of that I saw yesterday was the Getty kidnapping back in the 1970s, in fact. And I think of, the false claim of kidnap for Patricia Hearst. But there really haven't been any high profile kidnappings in a long time in the United States. And that's great. That's great to hear. But at the same time, I know it's more prevalent and more common in other countries, so I don't want to speculate if there's a connection to Mexico because it's certainly not being sponsored by the Mexican culture or the Mexican government or anything else. There are bad people in every country in the world, including the United States. But is there a connection to a drug cartel, for example? Are they trying to make a statement? That's been thrown around. That's a possibility. So there are all kinds of potential reasons and explanations for why Miss Guthrie has been kidnapped. I just wish the best for her and her family. I hope that she's returned safely. I will say this, it's amazing that they were able to reach into a Ring doorbell. I have a Ring camera system around my house. I've got 5 cameras. I can see when I'm down here, everything going on at my home. It's a pretty good system. But I pay the subscription fee. And, she did not, which I don't understand how her daughter, Savannah, who makes $12 million a year, could let that lapse, but it did. And to me, it's amazing that the FBI was able to go in with Ring's assistance and pull up that video now. It just shows what a friend of mine, and I know he doesn't want me to mention his name because he's still an active police detective, but Mark Tharp always says, Tom, you know, they're criminals aren't that smart. We always catch them. And he's a police detective in Hammond and a great friend, a longtime friend. And he's right. You know, there's the technology out there today, Walt, it supersedes your ability as a human being to beat it. And you always get caught. So look at this Burks guy. We talked about him last week from Illinois, or from Hammond that went in and supposedly or allegedly committed this heinous crime of executing this woman at the bar to steal the money after she gave it to him. In fact, probably because she recognized him, and she was the mother of two small children. Had a regular listener send me this after the show last week that Mr. Burks basically should have been in prison because he basically failed to appear for his. He was sentenced on a DUI. He was sentenced over to Lados, and basically never showed back up. And you know, here's a guy that was walking around the streets and you know, should have been in jail to begin with and should have never had the chance to commit that crime. But they found him in 26 hours. So technology is amazing. Law enforcement, criminology is unbelievable these days. And if you think you're going to get away with something, you're not.
I understand that dude had spent time in jail for a double murder previously.
He had committed homicide
out of prison.
Well,
yes.
he was committed to prison for committing homicide in Illinois. But of course, in Illinois, homicide isn't, you know, life imprisonment. In Illinois, it's a couple of years and you're out.
It's what's, you know, there's a lot of people who want to blame the police, uniformed police. They're doing the best job they can. But the problem is the lawyer establishment who rules the courts. I mean, and then you have the pleaders for the persons of color. I mean, if you're a person of color, you get all kinds of breaks that if you're average white boy, you're not going to see any of those breaks. But
well, I don't know that I agree with that. I don't know that I agree with that. I think that the justice system. What you have is you have attorneys that are extremely capable, and you know their job is to argue for their client. Okay, that is their first and foremost job. And you know, I've got siblings and a son that are attorneys, and I'd love to have you come by on a holiday, Walt, to take them on because I think you'd fare very well with them. But you know they do their job. They have to do their job. And so they have to, you know, if you're an attorney and you're a defense attorney, you have to defend your client. And I get that. But I think it's really the justice system overall that's really decayed. The premise that we're a law-abiding country doesn't really exist. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'm going to bring this up. A friend of mine, a former classmate of mine, in fact, she posted this yesterday, and I just want to read this because this is her take on things. And she said, you know, back in the day, you know, you grew up knowing what was right and what was wrong. Okay, you knew the difference between a mortal sin and what was a venial sin. To say a cuss word in her house meant that her dad was going to enforce consequences. The children of the next generation were more likely taught those same values, but the social norms were far more relaxed. And now grandchildren and the next generation will probably not even acknowledge what sinfulness is. And if you don't understand what sinfulness is, how do you get to heaven and how do you have a safe society? And that's a great, that was a great posting. I mean, we have people who live their lives coming up with excuses, coming up with ways to beat the system, instead of saying, okay, you know, I made a mistake and I have consequences to pay for that mistake. And it doesn't exist anymore. And it's unfortunate.
Well, let's take Minneapolis and what's going up there. you have mobs. I mean, these are riots taking place. They're attacking the federal cops. They're spitting on them. They're throwing fireworks at them. They're doing everything possible to obstruct them doing their job, kind of thing.
Well, now they're
Yet
running
the
barricades.
media refers to them as protesters. They're not protesters. They're rioters.
Well, they're paid protesters. These are paid agitators. They don't even know why they're there. When they're interviewed, many times they say they're not even sure why they're there, and they admit that they're getting paid. And I wish the mainstream media would just back off and leave those people to be for what they are. They're frauds. Okay, they're frauds. They're not legitimate protesters. They're just getting paid to profess some political agenda that somebody's paying them for. That's not mainstream America. Those are basically actors and actresses. I mean, Tony Panic could hire those people and Phil Potempa to perform over on stage in Munster. They're just performers. That's all they are.
Well, the Democrats are really playing this up as making the ICE police as the Gestapo and so forth and so on. And the people are throwing the bricks and the frozen bottles and throwing fireworks and so forth. Protesters? They're not protesters.
Well, they're hurting. They're going to hurt somebody. They're going to hurt somebody. And I'm just going to bring this up and we have to move on. But these analogies and these comparisons to the Nazis, I went off on somebody last week, and this is somebody who's actually connected to the station, who made the claim online that ICE were Nazis. And I said, really, do you understand what the Nazis really were? And they said, as far as they were concerned, they saw the comparison. And I went so far as to bring up my dad and said, really? Well, I grew up without a dad largely because of the injuries that he sustained from World War II, from being a prisoner of war. And how dare you make that comparison? And I can't believe that you really meant that. And her response was, I know exactly what I said. So you have stupidity all over the place. And in fact, in a few minutes, I'm going to talk about an article that I've read many times before. And every so often I have to be drawn back to it. And that's the article about the 5 universal laws of human stupidity. And I'm going to cover that just after 8:30. So, Walt, thanks again for the call. We got to move on. Have another caller. So good morning. You're on the air.
We do not.
Nope. Oh, they hung up. All right. Call back. Tell you what, why don't we take a break? And when we come back, in fact, I'm going to cover the 5 universal laws of human stupidity. This is an article that was written by a California economics professor back in 1976, and it still is applicable today as it was back in 1976. So I'm going to cover that when we come back from the break. You're listening to The Morning Call on WJOB. We'll be right back.
It's the simplest expression. The smallest thing that changes everything. A smile. So easy. A smile lights it up. Apologizes. And welcomes unconditionally. Because the shortest distance between two people is a smile.
Thank you.
Strachan Van Til, where making life easier starts with a smile.
For over 100 years, Roofers Local 26 has been keeping Northwest Indiana dry and safe. Since 1919, our highly trained members have built a reputation for skills, safety, and reliability. With a 4-year apprenticeship and certifications in OSHA safety, first aid, and CPR, we deliver quality you can trust. When you need roofing done right, choose Roofers Local 26, protecting what matters most for over a century. For more information, visit www.roofers26.com.
Tech Credit Union supports the essential role of union labor in building strong communities. That's why we offer hassle-free banking, financial empowerment, and a commitment to your success. Save for the future, handle life's challenges, and trust a partner that stands by hardworking union members. Tech Credit Union, the better option for you and your money. Visit techcu.org or call 800-276-8324. Tech Credit Union, supporting union families every step of the way.
But it's time.
You gotta catch up. Yeah. I'll catch up with you. I'll be right back. I'll see you in a minute.
Anything else? Yeah.
Well, what's up, boy? Hey, Ryan. Not tonight, man. Not tonight. Oh, yeah. You guys are right. Hey, come on. Let's go. Come in.
All right, we're back, folks. And once again, just a traffic update. 8094 is a mess in both directions, all the way from I-65 to Klein Avenue. Going westbound, eastbound, it's now a mess from almost Calumet Avenue to Klein Avenue. So you got to find an alternative. Your best bet's going to be the Indiana Toll Road this morning. But 8094, you're going to be in big hurt. And when you get across the line into Illinois, 294, there are problems basically from, let's see, I think it's from Worth. It is now from Homewood, going all the way past Alsip. So there are problems on 294. There's problems on the Bishop Ford, on the Dan Ryan, the Kennedy, the Eisenhower, Stevenson. They all look bad this morning. So be careful out there. I want to take a minute to talk about an article that I've known about for years. And this was written by Carlo Coppola, who came up with this essay in 1976. He was a professor at University of California, Berkeley, a professor of economic history, in fact. And he basically, it's called 5 Universal Traits of Stupidity. And he says that stupid people share several identifying traits. They're abundant, they're irrational, and they cause problems for others without apparent benefit to themselves, thereby lowering society's total well-being. There are no defenses against stupidity, argued the Italian professor who died in 2000. The only way a society can avoid being crushed by the burden of idiots is if the non-stupid people work even harder to offset the losses of their stupid brethren. And he came up with 5 laws. And, you know, I'm reminded of this sometime because we talk about things and we sit here in Northwest Indiana and we look at things and we say, how can this be? How can people be so stupid? Well, this essay of his from 1976 is so applicable. First one says, always and inevitably, everyone underestimates the number of stupid individuals in circulation. No matter how many idiots you suspect, you are invariably lowballing the total. The problem is compounded by biased assumptions that certain people are intelligent based on superficial factors like job, education, or other traits that we believe to be exclusive of stupidity, but they're not. Law number 2, the probability that a certain person is stupid is independent of any other characteristic of that person. And he points out every category one can imagine: gender, race, nationality, education level, income, all possess a fixed number of stupid people. There are stupid college professors. There are stupid people at Davos. There are stupid people at the UN Assembly. There are stupid people in every nation on earth. How numerous are stupid people amongst us, it's impossible to say, but any guess would almost certainly violate that first law anyway. Number 3, a stupid person is a person who causes loss to another person or a group of persons while himself deriving no pain, no gain, and even possibly incurring no loss. Okay. And he says this is his golden rule of stupidity. A stupid person, according to The Economist, is one who causes problems for others without any benefit to himself. Let's move on to number 4. Law number 4, non-stupid people always underestimate the damaging power of stupid individuals. In particular, non-stupid people constantly forget that at all times, and under any circumstances, there's always somebody stupid enough to make a costly mistake. And it says we underestimate stupid people, but we do so at our own peril, and it takes us to the 5th and final law. A stupid person is the most dangerous type of person. A stupid person is more dangerous than a bandit, or a robber or someone who commits crime because we can do nothing about being stupid. The difference between societies that collapse under their own weight and under the weight of their stupid citizens and those who transcend from them are the makeup of the non-stupid. Those progressing in spite of their stupidity possesses a higher proportion of people acting intelligently. Again, this is an article from 1976, or an essay from 1976, that an Italian professor wrote while he was at Berkeley. And when you read it, you're drawn to the fact that he's so right about his conclusions about how stupidity transcends any cultural barrier, economic, social, any identity based on a cultural basis or a socioeconomic basis, and that the cost of stupidity really hurts the rest of us. So I'm glad I was able to read that. 845-1100 is the number to call if you'd like to give us an opinion. And we've got callers, so let's go to those callers. Good morning, you're on the air. Good morning, you're on the air.
Did you happen to catch the jobs report that just got posted?
I did. I just saw it posted right now.
Yeah, they're expecting 65,000. They got 131. So everybody enjoy your 401ks and your brokerage accounts today.
Well, you just heard me read the 5 laws of stupidity, and the news media certainly needs to post that in their newsrooms and read that essay, because they were painting this picture that we were going to have this horrible jobs report. And they claimed last night, in fact, that Lutnick and others were claiming that it was going to be horrible. And, I just saw a post by Lutnick saying, I never said any of those things. So it's a strong jobs report. The economy's doing well.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes. Well, I think they were referring to Peter Navarro had an interview yesterday, and he was just saying basically, from what I gathered, I'm busy working. I can only pay attention so much, but he was basically saying, the jobs reports that we're getting out of Biden, these 400,000, 500,000 numbers, they're just a bunch of crap. That's all they were. They're a big load of crap, and we're gonna. They got someone in there that they're going to give you the real number here. And it's not going to be 500, 400,000. That's just a bunch of baloney.
Well, what's interesting, though, is that once again, Lutnick had to go ahead and make the point that he didn't say what was attributed to Peter Navarro, who is not the same person. And I kind of understand what you're saying. I vaguely remember reading something about Navarro who was saying what you're bringing up, that, the jobs numbers in the past were sometimes cooked and they're trying to have more concise and precise information. And somehow that was assumed by the legacy news media that was going to foretell a very, poor job performance. And it's a great job performance. So you're right. Enjoy your 401k and your investments because they're going up, folks.
Yeah. And, I really do think I think the job numbers are going to be good this year. I mean, with all the investment coming into the country, look at us here. We got John Deere building a gigantic distribution center in Lowell. That's going to be a lot of jobs for us. If that data center goes in Hobart, whether you like it or not, none of my business. It's going to be a whole lot of jobs building that puppy, so.
Well, I agree with you, but I think that, the data centers concern me because do we have the power in place? Look, we need those data centers. I'm not going to sit here and say we don't need them. We need them for our future. But what we should have been doing the past 5 to 10 years is planning for those data centers by coming up with additional ways to produce energy. And we didn't. Instead, we reduced the amount of energy that we produce, and now the demand is higher than it used to be. And that fits right into those 5 laws of stupidity, because we go and we saw what was on the horizon, we knew what was coming, and then we basically ignored the need and did nothing to address it. And by the way, if you hear that growling in the background, my dog is entertaining herself. She's playing tug of war with herself. It's hilarious. So sorry about that.
No, that's good. I love dogs. But and the other thing about these data centers, did you see that interview with Elon Musk? He said he's going to build them up in space, and he said, "Where you're going to have a bunch of empty buildings down here."
Well, Elon Musk again, he's a visionary. He comes up with great ideas. Some of them work, some of them don't. But I would never discount the guy. By the way, his worth. The last I saw, he is closing in on being not only the wealthiest person in the world right now, but the wealthiest person in the history of the world. So John D. Rockefeller is still given that title, but Rockefeller, if you adjusted him for inflation, he would be worth somewhere around $700 billion, and Elon Musk is worth around $680 billion. So Musk has, created amazing wealth for himself and everybody else that invests with him. So, this is another example of stupidity. They made these numbers sound so bad last night. Just be a horrible jobs numbers, horrible jobs report. It ends up it's a great jobs report. Who's to blame? Does the news media is the news media going to come back and say they're to blame? Absolutely not. They'll never take the blame.
Hey, you know what they say? If you want to lose money, do the opposite of what Jim Cramer says. That's about it.
That's pretty accurate. I do watch him, but look, any of those guys, the ones who tell you that they know what's going to happen, they usually don't.
They all think they're
common
fortune
sense
tellers.
prevails.
They all think they're fortune tellers. They don't know crap.
No, they really don't. Hey, thanks so much for the call.
Have a good one. Yeah.
All right, we have another caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Tom.
Good morning.
I think about this. There's probably no one more dangerous than the dumb person who actually thinks they're intelligent. If you know your limitations, you often can find the resources that can guide you through each situation. And I think that's probably been good for the very intelligent to do. But I see it everywhere. I see it in education with the leadership. I see it in politics. Obviously, you've done a lot of different things. Do you feel that issue is more of a concern in the political world or the education world?
I think I think that the author of that essay has it right. It's in every sector. It's in every world. I think there are stupid people in education. I think there's stupid people in politics. I think there's stupid people in business. There are people who, we laugh about it. But let me ask you this. When you get together with people that you used to work with, how much time do you spend talking about that really good boss versus the amount of time that you spend talking about that horrible boss? Everybody likes to stand there and talk about, oh my God, wasn't he the worst boss or wasn't she the worst boss we ever had? We focus on stupidity in society. And that's another thing that this professor brought up, is that we focus too much on stupidity. We don't focus enough on success. And it's never been more common in society these days. I mean, we have people, look, the last caller brought up, they ginned up this whole issue that we were going to have this horrible jobs report today. And we had a great jobs report. And it was all based on the legacy media literally lying, telling falsehoods, saying stupid things that weren't true. And now that now that the news has come out that it's a good jobs report, do you think any of those people, do you think David Muir is going to come on tonight and say, ladies and gentlemen, I want to apologize for the false information we gave last night? Of course not. He's not going to do that. And neither are any of the other talking heads. They're not going to admit that they were completely wrong, that they based it on a bunch of falsehoods, on a bunch of misinformation and stuff that somebody just cooked up in some newsroom. They're not going to admit that. That's the problem. There are too many stupid people, as again this professor theorized in 1976, by the way, and he got a lot of negative comment that he was calling people stupid and that this was wrong and all this. And you know what? You read it, and here it is 50 years later, and you read you read those 5 points that I just read, and they all apply to today's society, don't they?
They do. I do have a question for you, because this kind of ties to your former life and work. So we're going to have the John Deere warehouse being built there at Route 2 and I-65. We're going to have, what would appear, a data center being built in Hobart. At the same time, they're going to be building a data center out there by this Schaefer plant in Wheatfield. First of all, will we have enough tradesmen to do all that at the same time? And then it doesn't look like it's going to happen. What if the Bears did come to town? They want to build a stadium at the same time. That would take a lot of workers. So it's great to have jobs, but could you have too many projects?
Oh, look, I totally agree with you. You talk about stupidity. One of the dumbest things we did in education was we got rid of the trades programs. We got rid of the idea of students not just going to college, that they also went into a trade and learned an ability to be a professional electrician or whatever the case may be. We did that to ourselves. All right. We had this idea under the Clinton era. And I liked Bill Clinton. I didn't like his personal life, but he was actually not a bad president. I'll say that. I've said it many times before. His numbers held up. He did some good things. But one of the biggest mistakes was under the Clinton administration. We got away from the idea of building trades. Okay, so even if we get all these investments that Donald Trump has been, shaking other countries down for, and companies from overseas that come back and invest in the U.S., $18 trillion. If we get all that work in the United States, we don't even have the people to build it, okay, let alone maintain it. So we lost our way when it came to instilling the idea that, look, there are a lot of jobs out there. There's a lot of careers, and not everybody's going to be an attorney, and not everybody's going to be a doctor or a veterinarian or a business leader. There are lots of other jobs out there that need to be done, and they're good paying, and they're rewarding, and they're satisfying jobs. And we got away from that. And now we're in a predicament, because you're absolutely right. We're going to build data centers. Don't forget the one at the state line up in Hammond. They're going to build one there as well. They already have one. They're going to build a much larger one. So you've got all these data centers that need to be built. You've got all these construction projects in Northwest Indiana, but do you have the trades to build them? And what happens in 10 years when the tradesmen that exist right now, when they retire, and there's nobody to fill their shoes? We've done it to ourselves. We, once again, have invoked those 5 laws of universal stupidity.
I do have something else. Obviously, you've really talked about it the best I've heard, although I did hear clips from Matt Reardon recently at a meeting tied to concerns about NIPSCO rates and everything. And yes, I've met Eric Holcomb several times, visited with him several times, and I agree with everything you said about him. And I testified at the IURC hearing at the old Hammond High, when NIPSCO had spent, I think the number was somewhere between $500 million and $750 million to upgrade the Michigan City plant and the plant in Wheatfield. And then all of a sudden they're going to go away from it because they're going to buy everything off of the grid. Well, there's a cost to you and myself, Tom, and it's almost like, and that was my concern, it's like, this is a real cost, and you're just going to pass consumers. And as NIPSCO does all these things, they pivot, and they're going to take losses or whatever the deal is, and they're telling people, well, we'll kind of work with you. It has nothing to do with these delivery fees are insane, and I get it. You're paying legit cost for the natural gas, but the delivery fees doubled the cost there, and I don't think we've ever seen it like that before. And now NIPSCO has the nerve. They're asking one of the counties for a tax abatement for a project. Well, and here's something you would know. You ask for abatements because of the but-for, because you're trying to attract business. You're trying to attract something that normally wouldn't come in. It's jobs, money, whatever. They already started work on this project.
Well, again, we do things back asswards when it comes to attracting business. You're right. Why are we giving companies that are already building tax abatement to try and lure them when they're already here, right? Isn't that stupid? And Matt Reardon, I heard his comments, and Matt was right on target when he said, look, you're a regulated utility, you're a monopoly, so monopolies should also be regulated on the amount of income that they can earn, the net revenue. And you look at NIPSCO and their financial sheets look really good, but they're basically because of all these fees and all these charges. And if they want to look at new technology like the packaged nuclear power plants, they get to research that, and taxpayers have to pay for it. Whatever happened to the idea of you want to bring in new technology, you pay for it, and then you charge accordingly? It doesn't exist. Hey, thanks so much for the call. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got another caller. Good morning. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Tom. Good morning, Tom.
Yes, good morning.
German with Haven House.
Hey,
good.
Hey, German, how are you?
Finally got a hold of you.
Yes, an hour late.
Thank you for bringing that. So I thank you for bringing on Carrie and talking about our fundraiser, which is one of our biggest fundraisers of the year. And we wanted to make it fun. We haven't done it for a couple of years, and bowling's fun, and it's all family participation. And I really encourage if you're not a bowler, come on down and have some pizza and some wings, and whatever your beverage du jour is, and support an absolutely fantastic cause. We're in our 42nd year, and it's just kind of a perfect segue. Everyone's talking about NIPSCO costs, and you know where we're at. We're in a 100-year-old home. Our NIPSCO bills just absolutely went through the roof. And 80% of our operating revenue comes from grants. And, now we're all fighting for the same dollars, and grants have been reduced. Grants have been cut. To go back during the shutdown, that slowed down revenue coming to us for weeks. Weeks doesn't sound like a lot, but for us, that's a big deal. I mean, you were with several non-for-profits, and you know what postponing revenue for even just a few weeks, how devastating it can be. I haven't said this for about 3 years, but right now, due to these additional costs, we're in a tough spot, and we really need the public
and that's
help.
the point. And that's the point. You're in a tough spot. You're always in a tough spot at Haven House. Okay. Haven House basically exists because of the generosity of the listeners that are out there, the average Joe. Yes, you get some grants now and then, but let's face it, Dave, if without those the average person listening and viewing this program and this station, you wouldn't be able to exist. And you fulfill a need that we all acknowledge exists and is necessary. And again, what a great job you and Carrie and everybody else do over there. You basically work off of minimal income to make things happen, and it's such a necessary program that you provide, and people just need to support it. And this is a great event. You can have some fun. You can have some good food, have a good time, and do the right thing. And that's next Saturday, February 21st at Plaza Lanes.
Yeah, you get to meet everyone, and such a dedicated, wonderful staff. And you're right. We're not selling blow-up balloons, right? This is a difficult business that we're in. And again, we're in our 42nd year. I'm in my 14th year. Been very, very proud to work with the organization and the team, and it's a labor of love, and I really encourage you, if you can't bowl, we completely understand that. There's so many other ways that you can support. You can come for $40 and just meet everyone and have fun. We're going to have 50-50. We're going to have different baskets. We're going to have a wine and beer drawing. We're going to, we have a lot of different things. If you like games of chance, this is a fundraiser, so bring your checkbook. I'm not afraid to ask for money because we most desperately need it right now. But come out and have some fun. You can always go to our website too and donate there. We have a donate button. Haven House DVS, Domestic Violence Shelter, dvs.org, or go to our website, Haven House NWI, and that'll give you the link to the Eventbrite. Going to our website, as Carrie mentioned, we do have a wish list of the most basic things. When you open your medicine cabinet and you take all that for granted in there, those are the things we need, because the victims of DV and their dependents, their children, sometimes they get out with a hefty bag with basic clothes and a toothbrush. But other than that, we supply 3 meals a day, their housing, their clothing. And Carrie is right. We do. It's actually gone up a little bit. It was $45,000 a month operating cost. Now we're at $46,000 a month operating cost due to all the bills. So I'm not much of a pleader, right? But I am pleading to the public. There's so many of you out there that have donated religiously to Haven House, and I thank you. And there's a lot of great people. We hear the gloom and doom, but you know what? Northwest Indiana is full of some wonderful, caring, loving, giving people. And what keeps our doors open? It's not the $1,000. It's the $10 and $20 donations. Those are the ones that really keep the doors open. And I just thank everyone over the years that have consistently contributed to a worthy cause. So I can't thank you enough for the time.
Dave, thanks again. Thanks for bringing it up, and we'll talk about it as well next week. But it's a fundraiser. It's a great way to help out people in need, and thank you for all you do. And I'm glad that we're able to get you on the air. But unfortunately, Lynette is telling me we got to take a break. So thanks again. Thanks for calling. With that, let's take a quick break. You're listening to The Morning Call, and we're going to be entering our last 15 minutes, and then Lynette can go out and get in line and get her car washed. So we'll be right back in about 2 minutes. Stay tuned.
Introducing Powers Health, a health system with a new name and a strong legacy of caring for families in our community. One with a tradition of advanced specialized services and a vision for the future. One with a commitment to medical excellence and compassionate care. Everything we do, everything we believe, powers health.
Life's biggest challenges don't come with a warning. When legal issues arise, whether it's a car accident, personal injury, criminal charge, or representing you before municipal boards, you need a trusted advocate on your side. At Westland & Bennett, we listen first because your story matters. We provide strategic, personalized legal solutions to protect your rights, your freedom, and your future. Peace of mind starts with a conversation. Call 219-440-7550 today for a free consultation.
Do you like to work with your hands, creating something from nothing? Then think about Laborers Local 41. You'll get 432 hours of apprenticeship training, all while earning a wage with benefits and incurring no student debt. You'll travel to different job sites, learn tons of skills, and in a lot of cases, be the first one on and the last one off a job site. It all starts at laborers41.com.
Are you sausage curious?
Who's ready for Polish?
Big Frank Sausage has the very best Polish food in the region.
You had a mouthful of Big Frank sausage?
We have a full bar, dine-in, carry-out, delivery, and catering available.
I've had a mouthful of Big Frank sausage. I've got a mouthful of Big Frank sausage.
219-378-9556. Smacznego i na zdrowie.
Who's ready for Polish?
All right, we're back, and that's an ad I will never be doing. But shout out to Stan, and it was his birthday yesterday, and he's a great guy and does a great job. Big Frank Sausage. So shout out to Stan, a day late for his birthday. 845-1100 is the number to call, and we've talked about so many things this morning, and now we are in our last 12 minutes. And I know that because I know we've got callers, but I know that because my dogs, Lynette, I'm going to have to figure out a way to do this. Maybe I'll do it next week, but we've got to get the dogs on because they are sitting here patiently staring at me, knowing that as soon as I'm off the air, that they get to go to the dog park. They can tell time. I swear to you, they can. And it just looks like two little kids waiting to go somewhere fun. And they just sit here and they're staring at me right now. So Donna is out for a few minutes, and otherwise I'd have her turn the camera so you could see this. But Sophie and Luna are just sitting here staring at me. 845-1100, let's go to the calls. Good morning, you're on the air. Good morning.
Hey, how's it going? It's Robert from Robertson. Good morning.
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, just I'm not sure if you guys touched base on this. I kind of connected a little late, but I just wanted to know what I guess your audience and your opinion on the recent walkout from high school students at Hammond Central. My understanding is that the school board, the school administration, the superintendent, their job is to keep students safe, right? When I go visit any public school, whether it's in Hammond or in Munster, I'm buzzed in, I'm analyzed. I'm not allowed to just roam the halls or go into the student environment because of their safety. So it's a bit concerning to watch, the school administration, who I believe supports the protest, just allow teenagers, children, I say they're still children, 14, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, just walk out into the public and put them at risk. What if there's a counter-protester? What if there's danger? But indoctrinating students in support of a political agenda and the school city of Hammond allowing that and really pushing that it's disturbing. If a student wanted to organize a protest in support of law enforcement, would that student be punished or would he be approved? Of course not. So the indoctrination is happening in our students. I'm Latino. I am not in support of allowing our children to be, just guided in a political agenda by the school system. They should be focused on reading, on math, on science, on raising their scores, but instead they're pushing a political agenda, and it was demonstrated. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Well, Robert, we actually have had quite a few callers all the way from 6:05 this morning about this issue. And I agree with you. Look, I understand the need and the right of students to protest, but I think that it has to be done in a more safe environment. Just opening up the doors, as you said, and letting them walk out on the street poses a danger. You can't go into those schools without being ID'd, without being properly vetted. And there are a lot of dangerous people. We live in a dangerous time. And as one person said this morning, it may not even be intentional, but somebody driving down the street, they're distracted. They see the protest. They look off to the side. They're not looking at where they're going. They're looking at the protesters instead. They drive into another vehicle that maybe is turning in front of them, and that vehicle then gets pushed into the crowd, and kids get injured or worse.
Exactly.
And I don't want to see that happen.
And God forbid
that's the problem.
Of course, God forbid exactly. And God forbid I get a call, at 12 p.m. from the hospital saying your son's been seriously injured. My first thought's going to be like, wasn't he in school? No, we allowed them to go out and protest, and there was an accident. 100% right. So, if the people of Hammond don't start making a change in the school board, in our politicians who support very radical, and I'm going to use the word radical because this is dangerous. We live in a society in this area, Hammond, Whiting, Gary, where they're really damaging the future, the next generation, by not allowing them to explore themselves. They're indoctrinating these kids to believe political agendas. And it's sad. It's sad to see. It's sad to see their scores be the lowest in the state, and that all they care about is political agendas. So, with that being said,
Robert, I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you a question because you mentioned you're Hispanic, right? And again,
Latino.
The idea, I think that there have been some problems on both sides of the issue. I think that some of the tactics that ICE has used up in Minneapolis were unnecessary, and I think that it got away from them. But the idea of arresting somebody who is or deporting someone who has a criminal record, not talking about someone who came here illegally, but I'm talking about somebody who has a criminal record. How is it that people support the idea of keeping rapists and murderers in the United States? Explain that to me, because I don't understand why some people say, no, you have to keep everybody here at all cost.
Well, I can't explain that to you because I think like a logical person, and you do as well. I know which side you're on, but you seem to be one of the moderate Democrats that I used to support, like John F. Kennedy. So I do like the way you speak. No, I can't answer that. We are fighting law enforcement. Keep in mind, the federal government of this country is the strongest in the world. They arrested a dictator from another country and brought him here. And you want to stand in front of a vehicle and get federal charges. Your child's 16 now; he has a federal charge. Now you're getting a lawyer to fight those federal charges for what? Allow law enforcement to do the job. Allow the judicial system to process the individuals. And you said it. Unfortunately, people made decisions to cross into this country without due process, which is illegal. And some are coming for a better life. Totally sympathize. My parents came in the 70s. They did come here legally, and then they processed their papers. My father refused to be a citizen. He stayed a permanent resident for his entire life. My mother became a U.S. citizen, but they went through the process, and it took time. I'm not going to say it was overnight, but I remember it taking time. But whatever's happening now in the indoctrination of these children, believing that they can, that's not protesting. When you're becoming violent with law enforcement, whether it's ICE, federal agents, even our local, police department, if they get involved, I mean, is it okay to throw rocks and bottles at the Hammond PD, at the Whiting PD? Of course not.
Never.
Our children are being indoctrinated to believe that law enforcement should not be respected. They're here for a purpose. This is not an anarchist country. This is not an anarchist community. And allowing these children to just push back the way they are, it's not happening here. We're not having the issues Minneapolis has. Minneapolis is unfortunately going through their own challenges. I don't live there. I'm not going to buy a house there. I live in Indiana. I don't want Indiana or Lake County or my community to become like Minneapolis, like Chicago, which is why people from those areas are moving out. But unfortunately, they come with the same voting ideology. They bring those same ideas here. They're running away from them, but then they bring them here. But I'm very thankful that at least our Hammond PD has some control here in this area. I don't feel unsafe. I don't see the protest that Minneapolis has. State police here are doing a great job. Our Lake County Sheriff are doing a great job. I'm not seeing interference where I live, at least not yet. But allowing these children to go out there and protest and allowed to, I think, just break whatever policy that the school has, is teaching them that it's okay to disobey the law and order and rule. And that's not going to, go well with them in the long run. Obviously, being an adult, there are policies we don't like that our companies enforce. There are laws that we disagree when we're trying to get to work very quickly. You have to do 25 into 25, but you're running 15 minutes late. You might accelerate a little bit more and do 35. Some people probably do 45. So we understand that there are some things that impede us that are inconvenient, but we still are part of a society where we should follow the rule of law. And these children, I'm hoping they're guided differently soon, because it's just sad to see that generation go in that route.
Well, you know what? I'm going to reach out to Hammond Schools because I'd like for somebody to tell me, and maybe we can talk about this next week, to tell me if they're giving a balanced message and education on this whole issue. So again, I don't agree with these random sweeps at Home Depot to go after people that really are doing nothing wrong. Yes, they came here illegally, but many of them are trying to become legal. I think that if you came here illegally, you shouldn't have, but you're here. If you're not breaking the law, if you are doing things within the law and you're trying to become a citizen, it's appropriate. Crossing
without permission is indeed breaking the law. If you and I went to a foreign nation without going through the port of entry, if we went in there illegally, do you believe we would be treated the same that the United States treats? No, actually, Canada and Mexico, for example, would arrest you in a heartbeat. You're absolutely right. But I just hope that these students are getting a balanced message. So thank you so much for the call. We got one last caller. So you are the last caller of the day. Good morning.
Well, lucky you, Tom. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing well, and you've got 2 minutes. So go for it, because you got 2 minutes to go.
I don't even need I need 30 seconds. If you can get
by the way, I really enjoy talking to Robert from Robertsdale. He's got a great perspective. He's got a really great perspective. I really enjoy that call. But go ahead.
Was that the last caller?
Yes, the last caller. Yes.
Who aptly pointed out when you cross the border, you're breaking international law. You can't do that. And virtually every country on the planet would have your ass in prison.
Okay, and you know what? Here's the thing. But hold on. We now have a secure border. Okay, so what do you do with everybody that's here? Do you really believe that we round them all up and send them back, or do we try and work with them and say, okay, you're here illegally. Let's see how we can process you to make you legal. Let's see why you came here. Let's see what you have to offer. Can you make this a better country, and maybe create some sort of program to allow those people to become American citizens, and at the same time get rid of everybody that's here under criminal pretenses. Get rid of them. How about that?
Yeah, see, the only problem with that is that when you give the Democrats an inch, they want to take 8,000 miles. So they'd allow every single person that got here in the last 20 minutes to stay, no matter who they were, no matter for what reason. They'd be more than happy to bring Muslims in here who say, we don't believe in your Constitution. We want everything under Sharia law. They're literally trying in Dearborn, Michigan, to eliminate their ability to have to adhere to the legal laws of the states of Michigan and the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah.
You must
by the
love
way,
America. Guess what?
By the way, your friend,
you gotta like NFL football, huh? What?
I was going to say, by the way, your friend, the mayor of New York, Mandami, he is the first mayor of New York to not attend the installation of the Archbishop of New York, and he has had no contact whatsoever with the Catholic Church. He refuses to have any clergy present at his interfaith breakfast, Catholics. Nothing.
He hates Catholics. He hates Jews. He hates Jesus, the whole thing, the thing all our country was based on. But I'll go back to what I was calling for. You get the Hammond superintendent to come on and tell us exactly why they allowed these kids who are they're dimwits. I mean, it's one of the worst education programs in the state, if not the worst. And what are they doing? Hey, let's teach you to protest. Hey, can any of you guys in our class here at Morton, can you count the number of signs we have here? Can any of you guys count to 10? Don't worry about it. But a protest is good. What a bunch of crap. You get them on, I'll pay for the half hour.
All right, I will do that, man, Mac. I think it's a great point.
Lie through their teeth.
It's a great point. I want to hear that perspective. All right. You have a great day. Hey, thanks so much, folks, everybody that's been listening and everybody that's calling. This is the high point of my week. I just love doing radio, love spending 3 hours with you, talking about all kinds of issues. We don't always agree, but that's okay. As long as we respect each other. I want you to have a great day. Keep it tuned all day, all week to WJLB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, and stay healthy, stay warm. It looks like we've got some warm weather coming up, and I'll be back here beginning at 6 a.m. next Wednesday to start all over again. Have a great day, folks. Take care.
At Albert's Diamond Jewelers, love is the heart of everything we do. That's why we're known as the Love Store. This Valentine's Day, we're celebrating the moments that matter most and the ones you'll remember forever. Explore our newly remodeled showroom with stunning pieces from David Yurman, Roberto Coin, Lagos, Mikimoto, and Shy Creations, along with exceptional watch brands and the most beautiful diamond rings. With every purchase over $99